It's a beautiful Sunday, August 7th here in the US. And I just want to let you guys know that I have a special guest today. And he's not in the US, he's actually in Croatia. And before I get to that, I just want to tell you a little bit about who ComicsCast is. ComicsCast is all about the indie creator. Whether you're an indie writer, an indie penciler, colorist, you name it, if you're in indie comic community, we want you on the show. And this show is Comics Cast Let It Out. And that's where we have a little bit of a more intimate conversation. We get to have a one-on-one with the guest at hand and get to know what their creative journey is. And today, I am so pleased to have this particular gentleman. Like I said, he's Mexican, hails from, or he's in currently in Croatia. He's worked with top talent, or he's worked with Zenescope, Dynamite, Marvel, IDW, and as an indie creator, he's striking out on his own and bringing his own IP, which is Adelita 3017. So we're going to learn a little bit more about that. Before we get to it, let's start the show with this little bumper. Here we go. Hello. Oh man, I was stuttering so much there at the very beginning because I was so excited to have Mr. Ariel Medel here on the show with me. It's like 6 hours difference, so I think it's like close to the evening hours there in Croatia. But I just want to welcome you, Ariel. Say hello to our audience.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here and Let It Out in Comics Cast.
We appreciate it. I myself have been a huge fan of your artwork. I've been following you. I don't even remember when I started seeing your artwork, but in the short time that I got to know you personally, I've been a fanboy of all of your artwork, especially the stuff that you were doing a lot of fan arts, and I was just reading up on you, and then of course I got to know you during the pre-show to hear about your career. But we're going to share that creative journey with everybody. But before I do that, I want to put into the comments field. So let me do that right now. This is how you can like, follow, subscribe, commission. This is basically how you can get in touch with Ariel. Let me put that up there right now. So here we go. He's on Facebook, he's on Twitter, Instagram. He has his own website as well as a ArtStation presence. Everything you could ever want to know about him that's not on this show, you can find there. Because today we're going to learn about his particular creative journey, his origin story, as we like to say it here on Comics Cast. So with that being said, let's just jump right into it. So the origin story is basically where I put the mic back in the hands of our guest, and they basically just talk about their creative journey. So Ariel, please let us know where you started and where you are right now.
I've always liked drawing. Actually, when I was a child, and one of the I was thinking about a few options of what I wanted to do when I grew up. So one of them was an animator, the other was movie director, and a few other things related to that. But when I was in my teens, is like I realized I still want to do other things. I still want to do movies and all that. But first, I would like to make comics and become a comic book artist and creator. So basically, what I did back then is that I started doing samples for companies. I went to the San Diego Comic Con a few times, and I think I was very close to getting in, but at that moment, like they say, life happened. So I had to go and do other things. And about 10 years ago, in 2012, I actually got back into trying to get into comics, and then I did. First, I started doing comics for an Indian company, and there I met Ron Mars, who was like an advisor there. Then I got into Zenescope, and later on, just a little while after, I was able to meet Ron Mars at a convention in Mexico City, which is called La Mole, and it's a huge convention. It's actually the biggest one in Mexico. So I met Ron and I introduced myself. Do you remember me? I'm the guy who worked with you in those projects. And he said, yeah, yeah. And I showed him my work. He said, you know what? I would like to propose you as an artist in a series that I'm going to be writing. And well, I got back. I emailed him. He sent some samples, I think. Uh, I didn't know which was the project, neither which publisher was it. But then he told me it was for Dynamite. It was for the title of John Carter,
Mm.
Warlord of Mars. And a little after, they wrote to me, uh, and they asked me for a sample page. I actually thought I wouldn't get it because time went on, and I didn't get no reply until one day they said, "Okay, you're in. You're gonna start in this amount of days. Be ready." And I did like 8 issues. I think I took
8.
over issue 7 or 8, and
Uh,
it ran until issue 14. And from there, of course, uh, when this happened, I had already worked for Zenescope. I did various titles with them. Some issues of Green Fairy Tales, of Wonderland, that miniseries Matsumi, um, a Halloween special, which was my first one,
mhm.
and a miniseries called Quest. Then I went to do John Carter Warlord of Mars for Dynamite Entertainment. After that, I did a few issues of Xena, Warrior Princess, and I did a lot of indie work uh, until I did just a few pages, 24 pages for Marvel for a special project, which is not in the Marvel universe, but is actually for Marvel Customs, which is like
Uh-huh.
a division of Marvel in which they do comic book work for other companies, in this case, a pharmaceutical company. So it was
Oh.
written by Fabian Nicieza, and it was actually a great experience. And then I did Agent 47 for Dynamite, based on the Hitman video games. I
Yeah.
did a lot of bunch of indie comics like the Astral Genesis saga, Surf Girl, Skater Girls, um, ACD, which is another independent title, and most recently I did Evil Ernie for Dynamite, 5 issues written by Scott Lobdell, and it was also a lot of fun. One of my favorite runs in comics. And presently, I actually finished my first creator-owned project that I actually get to finish, because I've had many ideas. I write that down. I draw some
Mhm.
things, but this is the first time that I get that 22 pages, and they're colored and lettered, all ready to be kickstarted. But we'll talk about that in a moment. But beware, we're going to we're going to get kickstarted very soon. And
Awesome.
well,
Yeah.
I'm also doing a comic called Milestone issue 2. I
Yes.
did issue 1 a while back, but
Mhm.
they're just the campaign is coming out very soon on the on a new service which is called Soup, I think it is.
Mhm.
And well, I'm starting drawing other projects. one that is called Chickens in the Mist, and
Uh-huh.
it's based, I think, on an RPG game. And
Uh-huh.
that's I'm actually just starting that, so I really don't have much more info than that. It's gonna be
Mhm.
3 issues, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm talking to people about Adelita. There's this independent creator called um, Charlie McElvey. I hope I'm not butchering his name,
Mhm.
but he has a small independent publishing company which is called Zion Studios, and he's going to support me with the Kickstarter and all of that. So it's gonna be released in October, but I guess we'll talk more about that.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like you beat me to the punch because obviously that's a lot of your resume is so impressive, and of course that was actually mingling not only your creative journey but some of the future endeavors. But we'll go into finer details about the those current projects and of course the future ones a little bit later on. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about the art that you shared with me that I've been playing in the background while you've been talking about your origin story. You mentioned I think it was Milestone. I believe that's.
Yeah,
I'm trying to find the artwork. That's this is an image from Milestone, correct?
yeah, from issue 2.
Yeah, issue two. Yeah, so I was just I was so impressed with your story because you said that you were like on the cusp of breaking into the industry. I think it was like in the was it like the late '90s, early 2000s, and then of course you said life happened, and then you had to take a
Hmm.
little bit of a break, and then when you decided, I think it was like was it 2012? You decided to delve back into like pursuing a career in comics, and it was almost like you didn't skip a beat. It's like you were on the cusp of being discovered, and as soon as you decide to dip your toe back into the waters, all of a sudden everybody said, "Hey, look at this guy's artwork. We want to get him on a book." And it wasn't like you started doing like little bits, little pinups here and there. You were doing sequentials already, and you said
Hmm.
that was because of like you meeting Ron Mars, right?
Well, for Dynamite, yeah, but
Yeah.
for the Indian company, I think it was Facebook. They
Oh,
found me on
Facebook.
Facebook. Also, Zenescope found me on Facebook, and I've never asked how.
Uh-huh.
That's my
Yeah.
conjecture.
Uh
The
huh.
Indian company, yeah, I'm sure it was Facebook. But
Uh huh.
for Zenescope, the editor got in contact with me, and I never said, "Hey, where did you find me?" But I think it was Facebook.
That is awesome. That is a great story to tell because it's like I think if you look at comic breaking into comics in the past, you had to like go to conventions, you had to send out samples. It could be expensive because you'd be like sending out your portfolios in these large like 11 by 17 packages and hoping somebody in the editorial department would like discover you and look at your artwork. And it's almost like it is you let your artwork speak for itself and you just put it out there on Facebook and you're living proof that you beat the algorithm. Somebody discovered you through Facebook and got the ball rolling. Before we talk a little bit about your these other things that I've noticed in your artwork, I just want to like pop up some comments. We actually got quite a few people that are joining us today. We have Saeed saying hi. I was talking to when I mentioned you earlier. Ariel is Mexican, but he's living in Croatia, and I just want to let you know, Ariel, we have an international audience that's joining us today who's watching you. Saeed hails from the Middle East, so he's here. We also have Mr. Roy Mercado coming from the Philippines. And then we also
He's a
have
very good
one of my.
artist.
Oh, so you know Roy then?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, great. Well, you're among artists. You're an artist. We all appreciate your artwork.
Thank you.
We also have Marius Arianico. I won't try and butcher your art name here, but Marius is also from the Philippines. So it's like 1 in the morning over there, and they want to stay up here to watch you. And he also says, "A good day to you, both Gerald and Ariel." So we're so happy that we got some people here that are watching us. Okay, and he is wishing the show a
Thank
good
you.
stream today. Thank you so much. All right, so like I said, I have been a fan of your artwork, and I discovered you through Facebook as well. And when I look at your lines, they're so clean and so energetic and dynamic. It's just one of those things is that there's something about your artwork that's so expressive, and I think that's what resonates with a lot of people. And I think that's what a lot of the editors and writers, when they saw your artwork, once you started, doing sequentials and pencils, it's like you steadily climbed that ladder in terms of working for these smaller indie companies, and then, like I said, working for Zenescope, Dynamite, IDW. You've worked with Marvel, and I hearing your story, I feel like you've become like this full circle kind of artist. You were an unknown, worked indies, then you worked with Marvel, and now you've kind of got to this peak, and now you're deciding, you know what, it's time for me to do my own thing. And you mentioned it earlier, and I'm going to be pleased to share it right now, and that is Adelita 3017. So I've read a little bit about it. I saw one of your interviews that you did with a gaming magazine, so I got a little bit of an inside loop about about the genesis of this particular project. But for the benefit of our audience who doesn't know about it, I'm going to put the mic back in your hands, and I'm going to let you talk a little bit about Adelita 3017. You did mention that it is issue one is about ready to go. You're going to be kickstarting it pretty soon, but let's just hear a little bit about the premise behind Adelita while I show some of the artwork that you've provided to me. So tell us about her.
Well, actually, the Lira has many elements from things that I like,
Mm-hmm.
but the actual moment when I said, I'm gonna do this was because I get a lot of ideas. Sometimes I draw some character design, and last year I was actually a year and a half. I was preparing to do another creation of mine, which may come back in the future. And I did a lot of pinups. I did character design. I even did a few like panels with promotional work and with jokes, so as to gain people's attention. But
Uh huh.
what happened is that I had all of that, but I didn't have any actual page, and I got so busy that I wasn't able to do any of the interior work. So that got like on standby. I put a pin on it. I said I'll come back to it eventually. And
Uh huh.
at the beginning of this year, I was doing like some pinup images just for practice of women. And I did one who was like a pirate, another like a witch, another space woman, and things like that. And I thought, well, I always had the idea to do a comic with an Adelita. And
Mm-hmm.
I said I'll draw a pinup of an Adelita, and I uploaded the image, and it was very popular, and people were started telling me, no, this is cool, and I thought I actually have an idea uh, to do a comic about an Adelita, and I said if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. So what I is that I made time because I didn't have time. I made time to do the first half of the book. Then I got it colored, and maybe more than a month ago, I said I have to take some time to do the rest because if I don't
Mm-hmm.
do it, I'll never do it. So I
Yes.
did, and I got the rest of it colored. It was colored by the first part is colored by Jen Nitro, who's actually now working for Marvel. I think he's done some stuff for DC, and and the second part is colored by um, Saul Chabanas, who's also done some work for Marvel, and he's been a collaborator of mine for some time. And the letters are done by Jacob Basco, with whom I worked in some independent titles, and it was edited by Daniel Calvo, who's a friend of
Mm,
mine. He's a writer. He's done some independent titles like The Knock and some other things. So actually, yeah, the conception of Adelita was that Adelita comes from it's not a character, it's like an idea of the female soldiers in the Mexican Revolution.
yes.
They were called soldaderas, which means basically female soldiers, and they would dress more or less like you see Adelita, you know, even their long dress, but for action's sake, that the dress of Adelita is torn so she can run and all of that.
Uh-huh.
She has some elements, a few elements which are not from that time, just to give hints that this is not actually the Mexican Revolution. But I, I mean that the concept of the Adelitas. There's even a folk song in Mexico.
Hmm.
The concept of the Adelitas was always very interesting to me. So I have always this idea, someday I have to do something in which an Adelita appears. And at the beginning of the year, when I made those pinups, I said, I have to do it. So I started thinking about the story. And I thought, well, it has to be something that involves elements which I like. And first of all, I'm from the north of Mexico, so it's a desert area. So I said I'm going to use that the
Environment.
place and the
Yes.
environment where the story happens. And I used many elements from Mexican culture. There's mysticism. There's a witch. There's a good. I don't want to call her witch. I'll call her sorceress.
Uh-huh.
And other characters which will appear later on in the in the story, which had
Right.
those elements. But I also needed to have like some futuristic stuff. So we have those like biomech gangs who are
Uh-huh.
part machine, part human. Well, not really human anymore, but just like rotten flesh and you know
Uh-huh.
um, neat stuff. and uh, and I started working on that. So I thought one of the things that I wanted to incorporate was that a little bit of as an influence, Mad Max, but not the latest movie. I loved the latest movie, yeah,
Right.
but from my time, the movie that really struck me from the Mad Max series was the second one, Road Warrior. And
Uh-huh.
also, I would say after that one, it would be the third one, Beyond
Thunderdome.
Thunderdome. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yes.
One man,
Uh-huh.
two men enter, one man leave, and it's
Uh-huh.
amazing. You know, it's amazing. And so I got a few elements of that. Uh,
Uh-huh.
Also, I think it resembles uh, some of the movies from the Mexicans from the 70s, which had this like this aura of fables, like a fable, you know?
Hmm.
And I just mixed that up and I started doing the issue. And actually, as I was drawing issue one, I was thinking, well, the how I was thinking how the other issues will go, so that I will have a story arc, and which is already planned. I already know what's going to happen and all that. I'm thinking we'll have 6 issues, maybe 4, but I think
Mm.
we'll need 6 issues to properly tell the story.
Well, then that's the way that it should be now, because you're in the driver's seat now. Because as a artist who's been working with all sorts of talented writers, you've already cut your teeth learning how to tell or how learning how to draw a good story, and now you are the author. And I have to tell you, I was reading up on you, and of course, you mentioned it before. This Adelita is kind of like your love letter to everything that you have grown up liking and drawing and your interests. I love that you're a student of history and culture and religion, and you found ways to like weave all those things into a story, which is Adelita. And I have this piece right here because I thought it was great because here we see this arid environment that you talk about. It's going to be desert, and I like how it's like when people tell you if you're going to become a writer, it's like write what you know. And I think
Mhm.
with a artist and a writer now, you are writing what you know, you're drawing what you know. And this is like you said, it's reminiscent of your hometown in Mexico, but then you're fusing it with the things that you love. You mentioned great 80s movies like Mad Max. I'm not as familiar with 70s Mexican cinema, but I'm sure it's rich with all sorts of cool archetypes and heroes and villains. And I guess what I'm going to do is when I read this, I'm going to probably have to like dig up some of those movies, 70s Mexican cinema, to see what influenced you. Uh, but I had to say that I'm looking at this and it looks so fun, and I like this little teaser that you did here, which is using panels from the comic and using it kind of like an advertisement to get people
Mhm.
interested in in the book. And it's funny. I'm just going to go through this real quick. If this is a comic you want from Ariel, and artist from Evil Ernie. We showed some of those pictures. It's full of action, biomech mutants. I mean, you found a way to put mutants and like zombies and biotechnology all together. Things that I like to. And then you have an evil witch, or maybe she's a sorceress. I'm not sure.
No,
Um,
she's the evil witch.
oh, she is the evil witch. So that kind of has like that whole Wizard of Oz kind of vibe
Yeah,
to it.
exactly,
Then we have,
exactly.
and then you have this coyotes. I mean, you just throw in there anthropomorphic stuff. We have like werewolves. You have coyotes that turn into like these that walk upright, and then you look at it and you almost think that okay, it's Mad Max style, but then you actually are going to put sci-fi in it as well. I just I don't even know where you're going to go with this. I'm so intrigued. It just seems like who knows? Maybe Adelita will start on Earth, and maybe she ends up in outer space. I have no idea, but it just seems to me the sky's the limit in terms of what you're going to do. And then of course a dog. I mean, who if you were on the fence about reading this book, it has a dog in it. That's all you need to know. So it's very cool. Like again here, this last panel that you put in there, it's so clean, it's so energetic. It just blows my mind what you can do, and the colors are just like
Thank
icing on
you.
the cake. It just makes everything pop out. We have more comments here of people that just joined in here. So we have, I think, a fellow Croatian of yours. Ariel's amazing artist met him in Croatia. So I don't know if you've met Marco, but he has
Yeah,
met you.
Marco,
so
Marco
so it's
Dieshka.
so you
Yeah,
do okay. So I'm glad that we got people from Croatia that are watching as well. And we got Marius who's chiming in here again, who's saying, Ariel, these are really good. So, like I said, you are
thank
an
you.
artist. We have former guests that are here in the on the in the chat comment section that are complimenting you. That just speaks so highly of your skill and your deft technique. And here I have a larger picture of the evil witch character,
Mhm.
and I think this
She-
actually has more of a sci-fi look to it. I think
yeah,
as a
yeah,
villain, right?
it has that, it has that, because it actually all throughout the story we have the combination of sci-fi and mysticism and fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
so it's
Yep.
like a mix up of it. That's Doña Masacres. It's the evil witch.
Uh, it sounds like diabolical, like she's
Yeah.
yeah. I even like the names that you come up here. In fact, let's before we get, because we're this is great because this is primer for our live drawing that's going to come up. But one thing I
Mhm.
want to go to is that this is another example of just your brilliant style, because here we have um, kind of like the traditional like style of a comic style, and this is comic
Mhm.
style too, but the coloring and the way this is rendered is more like it's more painterly, and I
Yeah,
I just felt like
actually,
yeah, this is just really cool. You want to talk a little bit about this piece?
yeah, actually, I did the pencils for that, and the actual digital rendering, the digital painting over my pencils, what was made by Olascuaga. Diego
Okay.
Olascuaga. So he's an amazing artist, and um, some time ago he rendered some of the pencils, just sketches that I had uploaded to Facebook, and
Uh-huh.
and he surprised me with some amazing work. And when I was thinking about the cover for Adelita, I thought this has to be digital painting. And I've done digital painting in the past, but I didn't have time. And also, I'm a little bit rusty because I've been concentrated on doing more line art work, you know?
And sequentials, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And I thought,
Yeah.
well, I have to tell someone who's really good at this. And I asked Diego, and he was kind enough to make some time to do that piece for me, which is
Uh,
amazing, really. So yeah, he's
yeah.
actually the painter of the cover. I did the pencils. I
Uh-huh.
showed them to him. I said, "Are these tight enough?" Because I didn't want to make something super tight, because I want
Right.
him to have a little bit of leeway, at
Mm-hmm.
least, while just keeping my style, which is
Yeah.
something that I know he could do because he had already taken my drawings, and they don't look like someone else's drawings. They look my
Yeah.
with my drawings, just with digital painting over them, and that's one of the other reasons why I asked him, because I didn't want someone who would take my pencils and make it look like somebody else's style, you know.
Yeah.
So he,
I
he was
do.
very respectful of my style, but
Uh-huh.
also at the same time he was able to add so much more to the drawing, you know.
I was gonna say that now that you've told me the full story behind it, because I was thinking that you had digitally painted this, but
No.
this is another. I want to go back to like what I said earlier. You're an artist, because you have this artist who's I, you said his name is Diego. Is that what is or what was his
Diego
Yes, Diego.
Lascuaga.
Yeah, Diego's he was a fan of your artwork and just painted over some of the things that you had posted on Facebook, and then allowed you to meet each other and commission him to do this. And you're right; it's like an inker, a good inker with a good penciler. The inker will bring out your lines without changing it so much that it looks like a complete departure from the original pencils. It
Mhm.
complements you, and I think Diego did the same thing with this. He complimented you, and it's funny. One of the artists that was in the comment field, Marius, he's a proficient penciler, inker, and he does like the same type of color technique where he digitally paints on top of his finished inks. And so I think that he can appreciate what you did, what you and Diego did here. And one of the other things that's so intriguing about this, because I showed some of the artwork, and there was the coyotes, there was the biotech mutants, but there's some other characters that are in here. I like this. There's this kind of like this iguana, kind of like her steed. Is this is
Mhm.
this character? Is this a character, or is it just like a? I mean, does it have more of a story arc to it, or is it's just her steed in the story?
Really, and right now, actually,
Uh-huh.
in issue one, the iguana is not appearing yet.
Not
But
yet. Okay. Uh-huh.
I think maybe by issue 2 or 3 we'll have the iguana. But I
You'll
mean,
have the
I
iguana.
wanted to have an iconic image, like a movie
Yes,
poster, where
it
you
does.
have the main elements and something that's crazy to draw
Uh-huh.
you in, like she mounting an iguana, which is I think a very very cool concept, and I
Yeah.
cannot wait to draw an action scene with that with Adelita,
Mhm.
mounting the iguana, um,
Yeah.
and doing some shooting or something like that. Um, I'm
Uh-huh.
already thinking what I'm what I'm
Well,
gonna do, but
as
yeah,
much, yeah, as much as I want to hear you tell me about it, I don't want to spoil it too, because I know that
no,
that
no.
I know that I would, because to me, if like whenever I have guests on the show, I want to like milk all sorts of information from my guests to the point where it's almost spoilery, because I'm so intrigued. I really want to know more about it. And you're so right. The composition of this cover artwork, it is cinematic. It is movie poster like. You could put this up to like some of the Star Wars posters and go
Mhm.
check this out. And it's so interesting that you said that you know uh, when you did your origin story that you also want to do film, you also want to do
Mhm.
animation, and I think that these are all nice hints about your eye as an artist and how that would easily translate to like movies or animation. But we also have we have this older character that's off to the left of Adelita. I'm taking is she like the she's not she's the contrasting character to the evil witch, right? She's kind of
Uh-huh.
like the spiritual guide or like a fairy godmother kind of character. Can you
Something like that. Yeah.
could you without being spoilery, can you like talk a little bit about her character so that our audience can know who she's about?
Well, I cannot reveal much about who she is, but
Uh-huh.
she's like exactly like the fairy godmother mixed with Yoda. A little
Uh-huh.
bit of that.
Oh.
Actually,
Uh-huh.
my favorite film is The Empire Strikes Back, and the I mean the relation between Yoda and Luke, the master
Mhm.
and student, but how it started with this crazy guy, and actually George Lucas took that from Asian
Yes.
mysticism, where the
Mhm.
master is always testing the student, and
Uh-huh.
they actually act in a way to make them think they don't know what they're doing, but they're actually
Right.
testing the student. So there's a little bit of that in her personality, where
Uh-huh.
in the sense that she seems she's crazy, uh,
Uh-huh.
but
I love
she's
that.
going to
Mhm.
she yeah
Uh-huh.
she's going to help Adelita in many ways,
Mm.
many
Yeah, because
many ways.
I'm also I think the best of all the trilogies movies. I do think Empire Strikes Back was the best one, and who doesn't love Yoda? Yoda is just a great character, and the way that you're describing uh, this character, what is her name? Um, this particular
Nana
character,
Milagros.
Nana Milagros. Oh, that's an
Yeah.
awesome name. And Milagros is a miracle, right?
Miracles.
She's
Miracles.
miracles. Yeah, I have my godmother. Her name was Milagros. So I'm looking at
Oh.
this, and I'm having all sorts of nostalgia and feels, because now this character means even more to me now that you've described her. And I almost get this whole, aside from her being like a Yoda esque character, I also, and you mentioned you know Asian mysticism, and
Mhm.
it's also like she could be like a Mr. Miyagi kind of like, she's
Yeah,
gonna
in a
give
sense, yeah.
she's gonna like tell Adelita, wax on, wax off, and then she's like, why do I have to do this? And it's sort of like, she doesn't see that she's training her,
Uh-huh.
to like, and I love this. I think that you found creative ways to, it's a nice blend of familiar but unfamiliar. You have archetypes and you have story elements that have been used obviously in really great storytelling. But this is your chance, as Ariel, to like take all the things that you love and weave it into a story that is all you. You're in the driver's seat. Um, I think this is great. So before we get to the live draw, I'm going to pop up some comments, because we had few other people that commented in here, and we got DG Comics, beautiful artwork. And then we also have another comment here
Thank you.
from. Let me see if I can pop that up real quick. Yeah, so Roy says that looks dope, and then we also have somebody else here. Aurelis, yes. So Aurelis is a good friend of mine. She said it's very beautiful. So I think that your fan base is growing in leaps and bounds in the comments field. So lots of people are
Thank
commenting on how what you're doing here resonates with a lot of people. So I think this is a good point for us to we've talked about Adelita, and I think this would be a good opportunity to start our live drawing. So what I'm going to do is let me see. Let me pull up this illustration because this is a head to toe um, depiction or illustration. My computer seems to be choking a little bit here. So of Adelita. And so, if you're going to draw along with us, and I'm talking to you, Roy or Marius, anybody else in there that would like to join us, this is your opportunity to just do a screen capture, and you can see this really cool character design concept, and it's just neat. It's like a fusion of the past with some sci-fi elements in here as well. So please do a screen capture, and that way you can have it as a reference. And then I'm going to pull up Ariel's art. He's going to be drawing with us digitally. I'm going to bring up his art cam, and you're going to get to see the magic happen. So if you are in the audience and you'd like to draw along with us, put in the comment field that you are, and then post your artwork to the comments. I mean, to our sister page, which is the art show on Facebook. So again, let me know in the comments. Post your final artwork to the art show on Facebook. And one last time, take a screen capture if you're going to draw along with us. And while we're drawing, I'm going to have a conversation. We're going to learn a little bit more about the aesthetics, the look of Adelita, while you get to see the magic happen. So here we go. I'm going to pull up your art cam, Ariel. There you go.
Mhm.
And the clock is ticking. We're going to do 15 minutes for this. And hopefully you can draw and talk at the same time because I want to keep the conversation going here. So
Yeah.
first thing that I'm gonna go ahead. You can go ahead and start drawing. The first thing that I want to note is that I noticed that Adelita has two different colored eyes. Is there
Yeah.
something that you can? Is that something that you're going to reveal why she has two different colored eyes later on, or is that spoilery? Can you talk about that?
Uh, there are two reasons for that. The first one is that I wanted her to be more unique,
Uh huh.
to have something different. And also the other reason is that this is like many years into the future. So we don't see many people with two colored eyes. So in a sense, that is telling us that she's Mexican, 100% Mexican, but
Mm-hmm.
the gem pool has changed in some ways because it's many years into the future. So I wanted to give that sense of yeah, she's Mexican, but she's not uh, completely like our present day Mexican girl, you know?
Right. I see. So it's sort of like to show that in this future, people have kind of mutated a little bit, and in her it's a subtle mutation. Her color
Yeah,
eyes, I mean, the
exactly,
eyes of her color,
exactly.
the color of her eyes have changed a little bit. So yeah, and we talked a little bit about the influences of Mexican female freedom fighters, the soldaderas. Is that correct? Sol-
Soldaderas.
Soldaderas, yes. So and you mentioned there was like a song that's sung about these women freedom fighters. I was like going to ask you, do you envision Adelita having her own theme song? Have you thought about like if she could have a theme song, what would it be? Would it be like traditional like Mexican music fused with like cyber, like techno? Do you think there might be like a cool song that you could do for Adelita?
Well, Actually, I never thought of that, but yeah,
Uh-huh.
now that you mention it, I think it would make sense to
Uh-huh.
have like some elements. So, like for example, if it was a cartoon, because cartoons are the ones which have their theme songs. So
Hmm.
I would say for a cartoon, I do think about a Mexican
Hmm.
song with Mexican music,
Yeah.
but mixed with maybe with some keyboards with
Uh-huh.
with a futuristic feel, like some
Yeah.
techno here and there. So yeah, that would be actually a good idea.
Yeah. So I guess if when you do that that theme song, I hope that you can put a credit in there. Idea inspired by Gerald
Yeah,
from Comics Cast. so
yeah,
so
I'll do
speaking of
that.
which, I mean, what do you have like a do you listen to music when you draw? Are you is there a type of music that gets you kind of into like a focus, a mood when you're drawing?
Yes, I love classical music. I love Beethoven, Mozart, and all of them. But I
So you're
also love rock, hard rock,
uh
especially heavy metal. Uh,
wow.
so, so
I
I'm a
never would
heavy
have
metal guy.
I never would have thought that. So you're classical heavy metal, uh, kind fusion there. I think that actually would be kind of a neat to see that actually as maybe not the techno electronic music, but maybe do like a heavy metal with classical instruments. I think when I think of that kind of fusion, do you remember watching Wonder Woman, the Gal Gadot theme song? Whenever she comes on there, and they have like orchestral score, but then they bring in like these
Uh-huh.
guitars, like electric guitars, that are kind of like playing in the background, and I think it's
Yeah,
become obviously iconic now to Wonder Woman. So I could see that really working with Adelita too.
yeah. I think
So
that's a good idea.
let's talk a little bit about the name. Is there a special reason why she's named Adelita?
Well, because of the Adelitas.
Oh, because of that's actually tied to the solda.
Yeah.
I can't.
Well, they
Oh, okay, gotcha.
they they, they called them soldaderas, but they made a song about them.
Which
So
is Adelita.
yeah, exactly, and the song became so popular that actually the name stuck. So now when you say an Adelita, it's almost the same as saying a soldadera. You
Ah,
know?
man, you caught me. I didn't catch that that thing there. So it actually is tied closer to the song and the female freedom fighters that during the Mexican Revolution. Uh, oh, that makes complete sense. I totally missed that. So I guess let's talk a little bit more about her look here. Um, I like it. You gave her like these braids, and we were I can't help but mention we were talking about Wizard of Oz, and I
Mhm.
like that she has like this kind of like this dangerous version of Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz, and you talk about this
Mhm.
being like a Mad Max kind of vibe to it. So like when you were designing her, uh, were you trying all these different hairstyles, and was there a moment where you sort of said, "Hey, I'm going to give her braids"? And if you did, like, was that based on something?
On the soldaderas.
Again, okay.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
that's how they used their hair, because you cannot be fighting a war with with the
Yes,
hair just, you know.
the
So yeah,
practicality, right?
basically, yeah. So if you Google soldaderas or maybe even adelitas,
Hmm.
you see basically that. So I just made some tweaks to that look, and that was it. I wanted to be respectful of the history behind the idea. So I
Mm,
didn't want to change the look a lot. I wanted it to look traditional in many senses, but
uh-huh.
just with a few hints of um, like it is not the times of the Mexican Revolution. It's another time because she has, uh, first of all, the bullets are different from real bullets, and mm, she's wearing gloves. She's wearing boots. Um those are not boots for from that era. Uh, there's a device she's wearing on her ankle, and also she's carrying a backpack. So there are a few gadgets here and there which actually are inspired by the gadgets in Star Wars,
Mm.
specifically from the what's the name of the desert planet? Is it
Tatooine.
Tatooine? Yeah, from Tatooine. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I wanted to her gadgets, actually the her rifle has the color of some of the gadgets that you can see on Star Wars movies on
Mm,
Tatooine, and so yeah, that's basically like the contrast between the traditional Adelita and this Adelita, which who has a few elements here and there there are not from that era, you know.
mhm. Yeah. I totally see it, and it makes so much more sense now that, uh, you know, because it wasn't just a passing influence to have the Adalitas and the Soldaderas from the Mexican freedom fighting. It's like you've
Mhm.
actually found ways to weave in the aesthetics from their look into the actual character design for Adelita. Not just in name, but also in look. So I'm trying to figure out a way to like ask more questions about her without getting spoilers, so that you don't have to give away anything. Um, I guess she has a backpack. She looks like she's somewhat nomadic. I guess is
Mhm.
she kind of like her story is like she's kind of you mentioned Tatooine. Are there, and you
Mhm.
being a Star Wars fan, have you like weaved in like maybe some other archetypes of like Luke Skywalker or Ray? Well, now we know her as being Ray Skywalker. Are there like some other elements that you've kind of like weaved in from there too, or like other influences? And without spoiling too. If
Uh,
they're gonna spoil it, definitely don't mention anything.
I think not, and not consciously anyway,
Uh huh. Right.
not consciously. Another thing about her is that although she's young, uh, she was part of like these patrols, um, which are disbanded by now. So she's one of the only ones left who are like guardians of little towns in the desert of the north of Mexico, because we
Ah.
have this that that bio mecha mutants.
Mm-hmm.
There are gangs of them who ravage the small towns and kill the inhabitants of those towns. So she's like a protector, she's
Right.
trained and she's a protector. However, she has a bigger mission, and Nana Milagros is the one who actually starts telling her, you what you do is great helping people, but what you're gonna do is so much bigger. So you need to find your purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a very important part of the story, because we're going to find out who Adelita is and what's her part her part to play in this entire scenario in this drama,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah, and I was just like I said, when I look at the artwork, she has this sci-fi like rifle looking too. It's so is she like also like a sniper? Is she one of those
Yeah,
to,
she's a
aside
trained
from uh
she's a trained marksman or
mhm.
markswoman. I don't know which the correct term would be, but
Right?
yeah, and she's trained in fighting. She has normal strength, but I guess one of her advantages is speed. She's
Hmm.
very fast. So
And is it
that's
like a
actually. Hmm?
uh-huh. Oh, I was gonna say, is she when you say that she's fast? Is it because she's kind of like augmented, like she has like a mutant,
No, no,
like
no,
a
no.
kind of like a she's just
Just a very
mhm.
quick person. Yeah,
Quick person. Okay, got
yeah. She's not a Flash. No, she's just
it.
a regular person
Uh-huh.
who's very quick because of her training. So that's actually one of she's not really strong, but she compensates with being fast. So whenever she encounters like a huge enemy, like we see in the story, we actually have a few pages there where we see this bad guy who's like, you know, bulky and all that, and the way she cannot defeat that guy with strength, because that guy is like 4 times her size, so she has to be very quick in order to defeat him, you know.
Right. She relies on other ways to beat her
Exactly,
adversaries. Right.
she's resourceful. She's very resourceful. She's smart, and other things that I cannot reveal yet.
Okay, no problem. So there's your tease. If you're in the audience and if you were on the fence about Adelita, know that there's more to her than what you see on the surface. There's going to be some things that are going to be revealed about her a little later on.
Yeah,
Hey,
there's
so
a
Ariel,
lot more.
just to give you a heads up, we're gonna have about 5 more minutes to go. So
Hmm.
again, you don't need to finish the artwork. It's more about just showing your process and getting people a nice tease in terms of like what they can expect from your artwork.
Hmm. Okay, good, good.
Right. So aside from the Mexican freedom fighters, um, is there other any other influences that that you can attribute to her design that you can kind of like talk about or add to?
Uh, to her design, um, Mexican women.
Okay, no problem. Hey, if that's as simple as that. In fact, there was a comment here that I'm going to pop up. I'm not going to look at your artwork because I want to reveal that at the end. I mean, I want to look at it and give my impression. But there was one comment here. I'm going to pop this up from Claudia Sau. This is a
Yeah,
hot Adelita. So I thought that was really
yeah,
cool. Um,
yeah. Well, she's not tall. Uh,
mhm,
I haven't thought about the exact height, but she's not
mhm,
tall, and as you can see, she has the proportions of Mexican women, which are like, I don't know if
mhm.
that correct term is curvy.
Yes, yeah. Basically
Okay.
she's not like a supermodel or a an Amazon like Wonder Woman. She has kind of like a petite, but she has curves. She's not like
Mhm.
um, a super thin supermodel or anything like that, right?
No, no. So basically, what I would do if I was going to finish this is that after doing this, I would then uh, create another layer and then start drawing the actual drawing. This is just like a sketch, and
Yes.
I'm not gonna be able to do a lot with it because of the time we have. But I'm just gonna give a quick example of my process. What would be next? I would do something like this, maybe more careful, and after this pass, uh, I would start inking it. When I feel comfortable, I go directly to inks from this step to actually the actual inks. But in many cases, especially with the faces, I want to be very careful. Or when the anatomy is a bit tricky, I want to be more careful. So I do the underdrawing before going to inks. I don't go directly from the sketch to the inks. I do another pass and sometimes even another pass to correct things if it's a tricky pose or a tricky expression or something like that. And then I'll finish it.
Mm. Yeah, because you mentioned that you almost exclusively do digital now, right? You don't do
Yeah,
too much traditional work, because
no.
I guess
Aside
your reason.
aside from
Uh,
commissions, yeah,
mhm. Is it more about speed? Like you can just do things much faster when you're doing digital?
yeah. In many senses, yeah, but actually some things I still do them faster traditionally. However, there are many things which take because I'm inking myself, and
Right.
and because of that, um, I really have to use digital in order to be able to keep up with the schedule of a comic book. I have
Yeah.
to most companies ask that you do at least one page a day. So if I
Hmm.
use digital, yeah, I can do one page a day. Maybe if I applied myself to doing one page a day working traditionally, maybe eventually I would be able to do it. But right now, I want to take advantage of these tools because that way I have time to be with my wife and to go out a little bit, maybe stuff like that.
Yeah. It's not only a speed thing, it's also because you want to have a good quality of life. You don't want to just be like
Exactly.
glued to your drawing board all the time. So, but I find that
No, yeah.
I think that's a good approach because I think that there are some people that say, oh, you're copping out because you're doing digital, and I was like saying, no, I think an artist uses the tools that they're given to in not only to express themselves, but especially if they're doing sequential art, they need to have a workflow that allows them to not
Mhm.
only express themselves creatively, but to do it in a timely way. And that's the challenge, and that's where the expertise that comes in terms of doing sequential art is that you have a timeline, and you could just do a
Yeah.
pinup, but you're basically doing like little pinups in every panel that make up an entire page. And you're telling a story, and then you have to like be considerate about word bubbles and lettering, and just being able to successfully take a reader on a journey. And
Mhm.
and I think that that's one of the things is that comic sequential art doesn't get enough respect for the challenges that have
No,
to
I mean
come along with it.
there's a lot of effort involved, and basically every panel it's a pinup with backgrounds.
Yes.
And there are times there are some panels in which you can skip some of the backgrounds. For example, when you have where you have a close up on the face or something like that. But regularly, I am one of the artists who I have to put some backgrounds. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, there are times when I say this will be good without a background. For example, when there's maybe a panel where there's a fight scene, and we have like the one that you showed, Adelita kicking somebody. So in there, maybe I don't need much background or any background, but usually I
Mm-hmm.
do need that. So it's a lot of effort. You have to, as a comic book artist, you actually have to think like a movie director, like the director of photography, like the costume designer,
Mm-hmm. Light, like the
all at
lighting,
the same
you know.
time. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Uh,
So yeah, it's very difficult, and and it's time consuming, you know.
hmm Totally get it. Uh, I have not gotten to that level, but when we were talking about your origin story and how you were just doing sequential work like tomorrow, you were like on one book onto another book, doing one issue, doing four issues, doing six issues, just just goes to show that you've have your work process down in order to to meet the demands of a book.
Mhm.
All right. I just realized we went over the time limit, so I'm gonna like go. We'll have to. I'm gonna call pencils down right now, and then I'm gonna look up. And oh my gosh, this looks so good. Uh, this looks really really good. Yeah, and I just noticed here was a Universo Lector. Hi from Papania, Papantla,
Papantla,
Veracruz.
Papantla,
Oh yeah,
Veracruz.
yeah. So we have some
Yeah,
Mexican
hi,
representation here,
hola. I actually lived
and
in
then.
Veracruz for a couple of years. Well, not
Uh,
less than a year, many
ah,
years ago.
many moons ago. That was like another lifetime ago. We also have Vane. Is it who's saying hi from Hermosillo? Is that how you pronounce it?
Hermosillo,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
my
like I can.
hometown.
This is your hometown. Oh, so we have some people from your hometown that are watching this
Yeah,
show. I'm
I
so
know her.
glad.
I know her. Hola.
Okay. All right. So I'm glad that we got some representation here. Let's look at your artwork. And again, this is something that you threw together in like 20 minutes. It looks like you're already tightening up the lines and adding some more expressions to it. And I had to dig it because you put her dog. What is the name of her dog? I don't think we maybe even
Uh,
mentioned that.
Cholotl.
Okay, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, but I'm just going to say that there's obviously a bond between these two characters. I'm going to say that even though it's a dog, it's like her sidekick. Maybe
Yeah, exactly.
there's going to be a greater story about their relationship. But can you zoom in? Let's see, because it looks like you're putting in some expression already into her face. Yeah, and this is what I love about your artwork, and this is the reason why I became such a fan of it. Is that you you put a lot of work, like you mentioned. Sometimes you'll go and do a third, or fourth pass when it comes to drawing characters that have to have like a certain type of expression. And I think that this is something that I really like about your artwork is that you can we can look at some of the most popular artists that are out there. Some of them, their faces kind of look they look pretty, but there's not enough variation. There's not enough, like, the expression isn't there. And what I like about your artwork is that obviously the characters look like the characters from panel to panel, but they look like they're alive. They look animated because you spend that amount of time to work in their expressions to make them feel alive, to make them relatable. And I can already see this. I can see like her face in terms of her joy in meeting up with her dog, and there's a story that's being told in your line work.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so we have another comment
Thank
here
you. Thank you.
that I'm going to pop up from from Mauricio Sao. Exito
Hmm.
Arieleto. So I probably butchered that as well, but like I said, we're getting a nice activity there going on in the comment field. Well, so that looks great. So let me look. I'm going to look in the comment field and see if anybody drew along with us. Can you zoom back out? Let's look at this image while I see if anybody in the art show drew along with us. Hold on one second. Yeah, and so while I'm looking, go ahead and feel free to keep on drawing while I look and see if
Mhm.
anybody. Oh, great! We did get some people that drew along with us. Okay, so here we go. And this looks spectacular. Let me pull this up. So I hope, Ariel, you are going to be as impressed as I am with this particular image. So let me get ready to share that. All right, so this, like I said, we have some representation from the Philippines, and this comes from Victor Rufino. So let me pull that up right now. All right, so um, all right, check this out, Ariel.
Very nice. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Victor is so impressed. I love the pose. She looks very intimidating. It's like
Mhm.
uh, it's like don't mess with Adelita, right?
Yeah,
So uh
yeah. It
it's almost like
looks
maybe she had.
awesome.
Yeah, it almost looks like she's already taken the shot and she's observing the damage afterwards.
Yeah.
It's a. I'm just trying to imagine the story behind this particular pose in this sketch. But Victor, thank you for drawing along with us. That looks great.
Thank you so
All
much,
right,
Victor.
so okay, it looks like Victor was the only one. Let me refresh my screen real quick and make sure that no one else drew along with us. Yeah, it looks like Victor was the only one. Let me put this off the screen and I'm going to share my camera real quick and we'll move to the next drawing challenge. So, share. And I guess I'm kind of embarrassed because compared to you, Ariel, and what Victor did, mine is kind of cliche. so,
No, no, no. It's very
so here
nice.
I and I just realized I don't know if she was. We just talked about her being a long range like sniper. She has that nice, cool, futuristic rifle, and I gave her a pistol. so
No, it's okay.
I guess
It's okay.
I couldn't get the that rifle to fit in frame. But I also wanted to give her kind of like that smirk, like she's somebody like called her out, and she took them down, and she's sort of like looking at them. Yeah, I'm that person. I'm that bad. I'm that awesome. so I wanted to give her a little bit of that look. But that was fun. I enjoyed hearing about Adelita, and
Mhm.
it's nice to know a little bit about her background and her aesthetics, what her look, and basically I want to say that we're looking forward to like that book actually dropping. You said it was going to be crowdfunded, right? Like
Yeah,
Kickstarter.
exactly.
Um, so that's and you think it's going to probably happen in the next couple months, maybe, or do you see that
Well,
when do you see that happening?
I don't have the exact dates, but I think in the first couple of weeks in September, maybe mid-September,
Hmm.
we'll start doing actually the promotion for the Kickstarter, with the Kickstarter actually launching on of October, probably
October.
around
Okay,
mid-October. So
mid
um,
October.
yeah, and if you go to my to the website at adelita3017.com, you'll
Hmm.
find a form in which you can subscribe to, put your name, your first name, and your email, and subscribe to the newsletter, because with in the newsletter we are sending some other previews. Actually, if you subscribe, you'll get a five page preview of the book, all
Hmm.
colored and lettered, and also you'll get behind the scenes material and all that. And we'll be doing a pinup giveaway, which I'm organizing this next week. So especially for subscribers, they'll we'll make like some kind of raffle, which I have to
Right.
organize, and they'll be able to select a character which they want me to draw, and I'll draw it for them. It can be their
Wow.
original character, or whichever character you want. So that will
Uh-huh.
be for subscribers. So if you go to
That's
Adelita
awesome.
3017.com, you can subscribe,
.com.
and
Uh-huh.
also you'll receive news regarding the project, uh, the release date, the launching date for the campaign. And also in
That
that
is.
page, if you
Mhm.
go below the subscribe form, you'll find a little bit more about the story, and that the bios from the creators, from me and the other creators.
Awesome. That is such a great like tease as well as incentive for people
Mhm.
to sign up on the for on the website. Now I noticed that if you go to Adelita3017.com, it actually can be accessed from your arielmedel.com, parent site.
Mhm.
I'm gonna put all those into the chat area at the end of the show, so people will know, and we'll flash that up so people can also sign up. But we don't want you to go there now. We want you to stay here on the show because we have a little bit more to share here. All right. So before we get to the next drawing challenge, I want to pop up a few other things here. That some comments here. We have Arelis who says, "Wow, that's amazing." We had Victor who did some fan art with us. Big fan of Ariel's art. Had to step up. Yeah, he did. You did. Um, Arelis had to like drop in there and again and say beautiful work. And she also said badass. You're just totally badass. And here we have repiling to Saeed says nice. And let's see, we have one other comment here from Universo Lector. El arte está, I'm saying phenomenal.
Yeah, the
Un
art is
gusto.
phenomenal.
Yes. So I don't speak Spanish that well, but I can just tell that those are really good comments complimenting
Yeah.
you on your artwork. So I'm glad that we got people in there. Okay, so let's move to the next challenge. And I since we got a lot of good feedback from our audience in the comments field, this is your opportunity to help figure out what we're going to draw next. Okay, so we hinted about this yesterday, or when I posted a reminder of Ariel's appearance, and um, I would like our audience over the next minute to like drop a character that you would like Ariel and I to draw. And of course, if you're in the audience and want to draw along with us, you can draw along too. There's going to be a little twist. But before we reveal that twist, we want people to comment in the field over the next minute a character that you would like to see Ariel draw. So let's it is 2:31 or 2:21 p.m. here in the United States, where I'm at on the East Coast. So I'm going to leave it open until 2:20. Let's say 2:23. So drop in the comment field a character you'd like us to draw, and based on the characters that are there, we'll let Ariel pick from them, and then we'll reveal the twist. So while we're waiting to see if anybody comments, um, Ariel,
Mhm.
we talked yesterday about what that twist is going to be. Do you? We're not going to reveal it just yet, but do you have your your decision? Have you come up with what we talked about? Are you ready to
Yeah.
talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, good, good. Okay, all right. So far, no one's commenting yet. I figured there'd be a lot of people that would be dropping in some characters, and that if the character can be from Marvel, from DC, from a movie. If it is a little known character, you might want to give us a little bit of a heads up of who that person is, so we can kind of like look up that, and I can uh, give both Ariel and I some references. So again, drop a comment in there, and we're approaching the last 30 seconds. I guess the backup is this, Ariel. If no one comments, I'm going to let you pick a character, and then the two of us will just sort of do that twist that we were talking about. Okay, last chance. Anybody in the comment fields? Okay, so we got somebody, and I'm not sure who this character. Oops, uh, Dro Kao Ma. Who are you
I don't
familiar with
know.
that character?
No, I don't know
Okay,
who
all
that
right.
is. I don't remember.
Okay, I don't know who that character is. That's interesting. That was the only person that commented, and both of us don't know who that is. All right, for the sake of moving the show forward, Ariel, since no one really commented, I would like you to pick a character. Oh wait, oh actually, here, somebody, your friend from Croatia, April O'Neil from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Are are you familiar with her?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, okay, great. All right, so we're gonna do April O'Neil. So thank you very much, Marco. And here we
Ah,
go. I'm gonna hide this. Okay, so April O'Neil is the character that we're gonna draw. She's basically been like the fifth turtle. When Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came out, she was the intrepid reporter that ran into the turtles early in their comic career. So she's usually wears like the yellow jumpsuit, and she has like a camera. This is back in the '80s. This is how I remember her being, and she's like a redhead. So anyway, those are some things that some visual cues. If you're in the audience and you want to draw along with us, feel free to Google April O'Neil Teenage Mutant Turtles, and that way you can know what character. And she's been interpreted differently. I think in the movies she was played by Megan Fox. So if you remember who she is, but yeah. So let's draw April O'Neil. Now the twist is this. Okay, the twist is we're going to do a little bit of a fusion. We're going to actually draw her in a particular theme or genre, and I'm going to elaborate that on that a little bit more after Ariel. Ariel picks something like we did our pre-show yesterday. He's going to pick a theme or genre, and I'm going to pick a theme or drama or genre and we're going to fuse those together, and then make April O'Neil in that fusion. All right, so Ariel, what was your theme or genre?
cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk. All right, great. Okay, so mine was Greek mythology. So I think it's going to be interesting to do a April O'Neil that has cyberpunk elements as well as Greek mythology. So cyberpunk, going to give our audience some ideas. Cyberpunk could be anything from like Blade Runner, if you've ever watched Blade Runner, and for like Greek mythology, if you've watched Clash of the Titans, if you know the character Medusa. So anyway, those are the genres. We have to fuse those two together and draw April O'Neil. All right, so hopefully we'll get some fun designs that come out of this. I'm going to set the clock for like 15 minutes, and then we're going to go from there. All right, so I'm going to
Okay.
put your art cam up again, Ariel,
Yeah.
and we're gonna let the magic. We're gonna focus on seeing the magic happen on your screen, and we're gonna get drawing. All right, so 15 minutes, and starting right now.
Mhm. Actually, now I remember who Cao Mao is. Mauricio Sao,
Oh,
who
you do?
posted, Mauricio Sao, who posted the comment, is a very good friend of mine. And a while back, I drew him as a cow with like a costume of a cow. So that's Cao Mao. But I didn't
Oh,
remember when he said it. It is good to
okay.
to know that he cherishes that that memory.
Okay. Well, you know what? A little later on, we're gonna have to maybe on. You can post that artwork that you did. You can share it with me, and I'll post it to Facebook so we can know who this cow Mao character looks like.
I look for it. If
Okay,
if you
you can share
have
that with me a
Mauricio,
little.
send
Yeah.
send it to me, please.
Oh yes, definitely do that. All right, so we're doing April O'Neil. Were you a big fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Well, I am definitely a fan, but to be honest, that Turtles came like a one generation after me. So I was more
Mm-hmm.
into Marvel and DC and all of that. But the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were those characters that, even though I wasn't into them at the time, you were like, always aware of what was happening to them. with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a few friends who were huge fans, and they actually bought the comics. They got the issues drawn by Kevin Eastman and with Peter Laird, and I
Mm-hmm.
read a few of those just quickly because I was at my friend's home, and I was like, whenever I went there, they had a huge collection of comics, and we were going somewhere, and I was waiting for them, to be ready, and I was like looking at that stuff
Check.
because I yeah,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, I remember that what I liked. Mostly about the Ninja Turtles was actually the stories from the original comics were more serious, you know, more
Yes. Mm-hmm.
like actually like
More violent.
samurai or ninja stories,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
that's what I actually liked, as opposed to what the movies, what they were doing with the movies and the cartoons, which was cool, but more like for kids, So
Mm-hmm.
the comic books appealed more to me in that time.
Because it was more of a gritty storytelling,
Yeah,
right? It wasn't
exactly.
the it wasn't the kidified versions, right?
Exactly. So that's what seems so appealing to me.
Yeah, I had to say that I discovered the turtles, like you said, in the 80s, and it was when it was still it's funny now because that's back when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was an indie book. It was only black and white. It was very low budget. In fact, the paper was almost like newsprint. It wasn't even really that high quality. It was an underground book. This
Yeah.
was before it was blew up and became a major franchise, and and then you started seeing cartoons and lunch boxes and toys. it was it was people don't. I think the younger generation doesn't realize that it was an indie book when it first came out.
It was.
It wasn't mainstream at all.
No, no, no. And I mean, one of the cool things about it was precisely it was black and white, I think, and
Hmm.
like you say that the paper was not like glossy paper or anything, and
Hmm.
I actually think I know there must be, but I think there should be more comics like that.
Yeah, I think that when you see comics, and maybe that's part of the success of some indie comics that aren't colored, that they're black and white, is that it kind of distills the comic down to its bare bare necessities, right? You're
Mhm.
relying on just line art and sequentials to tell the story. You don't have. Um, it's almost like by taking the color out of it, you're actually putting more pressure on the pencil or inker to be to communicate the story even more because
Mhm.
you're not relying on the color to help lay an emotional impact on top of it. When you start influencing, the storytelling by adding color theory on top of it. And I have to
Mhm.
say, I think you're right. I think that if you can do a good black and white comic, that's another thing too. It's one of those things is that if you can do a sequential page and there's no word balloons on it, there's no colors, there's just the line art and the panels, and the reader can look at it and not even read a word, but know what the story is because the panels are so good. They tell it. That's kind of like what you're talking about in terms of a black and white approach, right?
Mhm. Yeah, well, actually, one thing that I would like to someday do is actually a black and white comic book. But
Have you
I
thought
guess
about doing a black and white version of Adelita? Like maybe
no,
there's a color version as well as a.
I think that the leader is more like a color thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, maybe if it was like a regular series or something like that, maybe one special, like I don't know, maybe a Halloween special, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, within the within what the comic is actually is, I don't think it would fit to be black and white. For black and white,
Right.
I think I would go precisely with something a little bit more gritty, you know?
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's almost like a black and white. If you remember the Frank Miller Sin City things that he was
Yeah.
doing, that crime noir, look.
Mhm. And I love the silent night issue.
Yes, yes, that was a great storyline as well. So I recall, like from when I read up on you, and of course, um, you mentioned it when we were doing the origin story, that you're a big fan of like history and mythology. And here we
Mhm.
are. Of course, we're doing April O'Neil, but we're throwing in the whole um, cyberpunk, and I put Greek mythology in there. Um, are you a big fan of like Greek mythology, like that storytelling?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I'm not an expert in any means because now that you mentioned history, there I'm gonna have probably people asking me things to see if,
They're
and
gonna test you.
so I'm not really good with details, but because I forget them. But I love I mean, the the phenomenon of history, how it develops and all that, and how um, society, how the elements of history affect societies, you know,
Hmm.
and how we have like an empire and then another one and then another one, and this one crumbles, and
Right.
it's basically the same thing over and over again, and people do not learn.
Yeah,
They
that is
still
so
do
right.
it. They still
It's
do
his,
it again.
yeah, history repeating itself, right? You're right.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And it's like you just have to look at the history books, and I don't think I should do this because these guys did it, and it didn't work out for them, and neither for the other
yeah.
ones or the other ones previous
Hmm.
to that, or the other ones. It never works. So basically, you can learn a lot from that, you know. And
Hmm.
I've been lucky to be able to travel a little bit, and you see the same patterns. The downfall of societies and the
Hmm.
downfall of civilizations had have certain elements
Hmm.
which repeat themselves. And I'm not going to mention those elements because there's going to be people who's going to be, no, that's not true, blah, blah. So everybody has their own viewpoint. But what I
Uh-huh.
see it, what fascinates me is precisely those like things that are always repeating themselves.
Yeah. It's like we're stuck in the matrix, right? We just keep on repeating those same
Yeah.
errors over time, right?
So I'm trying to do a dynamic pose, but this is not really well planned, so it's okay. I think it's okay,
it's,
but
it's okay. Yeah, we're just having fun, doing something a little different. I never would have thought about fusing these things together, so I'm a little struggling myself trying to come up with something something there to go along with it. So aside from, we talked a little, actually I'm going to save that this question for the next drawing challenge, but so let me see what else I can kind of like come up with in terms of a talking point. So did you watch the live action versions of the Teenage Mutant Turtles, the ones where I said where April O'Neil was played by Megan Fox? Did you ever see those
yes, I
those
did.
by Michael Bay?
Yeah.
What did you think about him? Did you like them? Did you?
Well, actually, well, Michael Bay was only the producer, but yeah,
You're right. Yes.
they have like
Yes.
their his imprint all over the films, even though he was not the director. And
You're
actually,
right. You're right.
I think I'm one of the few who actually enjoyed the films. I mean, they're not like amazing pieces of art, but they're fun. They're
Exactly.
fun. And
Ex- exactly. That's the way to say it. It's just fun
and
movies, right?
the other thing is that in the first part they had like some very cool elements, but in the second part it's like they toned down a lot of those elements because they had like this shredder who had a lot of knives and all of that, and he really seemed dangerous. But in the second one, he just looks very regular, not very dangerous or anything. However, there are some other things because I mean, this those are movies just to eat some popcorn and maybe
Yeah.
yeah,
Popcorn flick. It's a popcorn.
yeah, exactly.
You're so right. I like that. That's a good way to look at it because you're right. It's like sometimes the movie doesn't have to be like uh, this epic art piece or a big
Mhm.
statement. It just needs to just be a popcorn flick. What I liked, or what I thought was the one thing that kind of bothered me. He gave the turtles nostrils, and I don't.
Mhm.
I have to say that for some reason that kind of bothered me. And turtles have nostrils, but it was just funny is that I was so used to all the interpretations of the turtles, and they never had nostrils, and for some
Listen,
reason that bothered me.
yeah, everyone hated that, but I gotta say I liked it. And the reason I
You like the
liked it
nostrils?
is because now
Uh-huh.
we're having this three-dimensional version of the turtles, which is not
Mm-hmm.
the original movies where we had those customs, which are cool for
Right.
that time. But if you want
Mm-hmm.
to present them in 3D with CGI and in, 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 in another in higher definition, because now cameras have more definition than before. I think they
Mm-hmm.
had to put the nostrils in, and I like them.
Yeah.
And actually, if you
Mm-hmm.
look at if you forget about the nostrils, they're pretty badass because they're like
They.
these huge guys, and then the way they
Mm-hmm.
have all of these elements, and actually what they did is that they added up to the more traditional depiction of the turtles in the way that they actually put elements, accessories, which were related to the personalities of each of the turtles. And I like that because in the original cartoons, at least in the cartoons, you could only tell them apart by the color of their masks.
Their headband.
Yeah, their
Yes.
headband.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's
Yes.
something
Mm-hmm.
that I liked about the movies, that they had this like these goggles, and the other one had other stuff, and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So I
You're
liked it.
so right. I agree with you. I think once I got past the nostrils, I did like their depictions because it was different, and not only that, they made the turtles their own like personality. Aside from their accessories, they were different body types. Like
Mhm.
Raphael was more of a hulking like turtle, whereas Donatello was more slender. And then then you had Leonardo, who is the athletic, swordsman, and then you have Michelangelo, who is more of the kid. So they made him a little bit smaller, but he was more his attitude was more rambunctious. So you're so right. I had to agree. Is that I think it was just the initial jarring thing about these aren't the turtles that we remember, but then after watching it a little bit more, you just have to accept that it's a different style of turtle, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean I understand those who didn't like it because it, for example, like with Sonic, they tried to make him more realistic, and it didn't work. But in the case of the turtles, for me, it did work.
Yeah, I will agree with you. I had to say that in retrospect, I really think that and you also have to just realize it's just a another version of the turtles and one that we hadn't seen yet. And that's the thing about the cartoon. Oh my gosh, the cartoon has so many different wide like varieties of the turtles. We have ones that are
Mhm.
like really simple, um, simple lines that are more exaggerated. And then we have ones that are more a little bit more gritty. We have ones that are more. I mean, it is a cartoon, but we have ones where it really pushes the art, the cartoon, uh, cartoon boundaries. I don't know
Mhm.
if that's a word because cartoons. Part of the beauty of cartoons is that you don't have to adhere to reality. You can do all sorts of crazy things with it.
But I mean, having said that those are popcorn movies, I would love to see like a gritty, maybe a black and white movie with a small
Mhm.
budget and just like a more mature story of the turtles, and
Mhm.
like a samurai film.
Yeah, and maybe make
And
it rated R. So that way
exactly,
it
exactly,
actually it's like a hardcore martial arts samurai style movie, but it's turtles, right?
exactly. I would love seeing that.
All right, so
But
we have about I lost track of time, but I'm just gonna say let's try and wrap this up in 3 minutes. Do you think you can like kind of like refine your illustration in 3 minutes, Ariel?
well, at least parts of it.
Okay, no problem. Again, you don't need to get it to be a finished state. We're just going to try and get as close to so we can kind of, like I said, show the magic, show what you can do in the time that you're given. I'm sorry, what were you going to say? I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, I don't remember.
Mhm. No problem. Yeah, I had to tell you when we talked about this challenge last night. I was like, I wonder what we're going to come up with, and I have to say that I would not have thought about doing an April O'Neil in a cyberpunk Greek mythology,
Me neither.
look.
And now that now that we are at, I didn't mention that for those who don't know, actually, I think it's in October when the first my first cover for IDW is coming out, and it's on one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles titles. Because
Uh
they're
huh.
having an event called the Armageddon Game, and there's one tie-in book called Alliance, and it's centered around a character called Karai, which is I think it's a villain. So I did the cover for that issue and that title, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually very excited about it because it's the first time I draw something for that company and from that franchise, which is an amazing franchise, which is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, we only. In fact, when we get to the end of the show, I'm gonna show that cover that you gave to me. Because we didn't get it during the origin story, we didn't get a chance to focus on it so much. So we'll talk more about that and share that artwork. All right. Okay, so we're
Mhm.
approaching the last minute here. So you want to like do any last minute touches to it, and we will show the artwork. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put my pencil down because I don't know if I can do anything more. I'm gonna go ahead and check the art show. Actually, let me look at the comments field and see if anybody drew along with us. Um, okay, let me look in the art show. Oh no, it looks like no one drew along with us. I guess they felt the challenge was very difficult, and it was. It was definitely a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Um, but that's part of it. With sometimes the unexpected, spontaneous thing, it kind of like is a nice exercise. I don't know if that's when you were coming up with your characters for Adelita. Did you kind of like do like fusions? We talked about like the coyotes and making them anthropomorphic. Everybody could do like a werewolf, but you decide to do coyotes. Um, did you ever, like, when you're coming up with new character designs, do you just sort of like have like this dartboard with all these different things? Like like for us, there was Greek mythology, there was cyberpunk, there was feudal Japan, there was science fiction, and then you just throw a dart at the board and see what it lands on, and then you come up with a character. Uh, was there like any type of method to your character designs? Do you have like a formula that you do, or do you just pull it from the back of your mind in terms of like your experiences?
Well, in the case of the coyotes, I mean, that's a
Mm-hmm.
term used to people who help uh, immigrants cross the border
Mm-hmm.
illegally. So they are
Yes,
called
yes.
coyotes, and they are
All
also
right,
also called polleros. But I preferred using coyotes because of the anthropomorphic thing that would fit.
right.
And and their look is pretty much the look of at least the leader looks pretty much like a real coyote or like a narco, And
Right.
but for example, for the villainess, mm, Doña Masacres, uh, she's like this combination of, for example, if you see at the hairstyle, um, it's pretty much like in the 50s Mexican movies, like the female stars would use those kind of hairstyles. And
Ah, okay.
we have, of course, the horns because uh, I wanted her to have a very unique look, and so I used a few more elements of things that I think would fit. And she has, like, also because this is part of the theme of the story, she has these mechanical parts integrated to her body, into her body.
The sci-fi,
She,
the
yeah,
sci-fi elements, right?
she has like a tail, uh, like a mechanical demon tail, and well, she had to look tall as opposed to Adelita, who's petite. And the
So it's a nice
reason,
contrast,
yeah, because she had to look intimidating.
right? Okay, so anyway, I'm gonna look at your artwork because I've been resisting the urge to do that. I see what you did here. That looks so cool. So you kind of like gave her like this Greek, like, I mean, like a toga. She's like wearing like
Mhm.
a toga here. Man, I'm gonna, like I did with all of my guests. I have to go back after the show and watch it on demand so I can see how you came up with this concept, how my guests come up with their concepts. Do you want to like talk about how you kind of fused cyberpunk? Because it kind of like makes me. This is my interpretation of it. It kind of has like April O'Neil kind of has like this Motoko Kusanagi Ghost in the Shell. She kind of has
Mhm.
that kind of look, and but you put the toga on her, and of course that's the Greek mythology fused with the sci-fi cyberpunk anime look. Uh,
Mhm.
is that what you were going for?
Exactly, pretty much.
Oh, this looks so. It looks so cool. Uh, so, are you a fan of Ghost of the Shell? Did you ever watch that
Yeah,
anime?
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, uh, I forget the name of the author, the original Masamune
Oh,
Shiro.
Masamune Shiro. Yes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of my favorite artists when I was a teenager. So I got into manga and anime back then, and
Yes.
he was my favorite manga artist. So I read Orion. I read there was Apple Seed.
Yes.
Ghost in the Shell,
Ghost in the
uh,
Shell. Yep.
and there was another one. I don't remember the name where it
I
was
think
like
the characters were
Dominion.
Dominion. I was gonna say it's
Yeah,
Dominion. It had the
yeah.
two anthropomorphic, kind of like they were like cat, humanoid cat kind of creatures, that were
Mhm.
in there. But
So
yeah, that. Uh,
I was a huge fan of his, and I had the mangas, and I actually I saw a few of the animes, but I was more attracted to the manga because he was the artist there. You know.
Yeah, I totally feel you. You and I think we read the same things. You were in Mexico, I was in the United States, but we were reading the exact same things. So like we probably would have been best friends if we lived on the same block with each other. But we actually got a late entry. We have Victor Rufino actually came up again with another drawing. Let me share that with you. Hold on one second. All right. And Victor does not disappoint. He did a really cool fusion. And let me share that. All right, so look what Victor did. so so
Very
he did
nice.
April O'Neil. Yeah, and you could see it was kind of like you can see the Greek columns there in the background. I think that's a is that an Ionic? Is that Ionic or it's definitely not Corinthian? Or is it Ionic or Doric? I'm trying to like figure out my old art history at times what kind of column that is. But he has like the futuristic cityscape, which is the cyberpunk
Yeah,
element there, and he did April O'Neil here. Very cool.
very
I love
cool.
the loose feeling of it. Hmm.
Yeah, I like the jacket and the attitude. You know, very
Yes,
very
and underneath
nice.
her jacket, yeah, because she has like this Blade Runner style like jacket, but then
Uh-huh.
underneath it, she has like kind of like the toga, like elements there in her as well. So
A necklace
just
or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah, very cool. So, all
Very
right, so let
nice.
me
Thank you so
share.
much.
Yeah, Victor, you're killing it. Let me share mine real quick, and then we'll get to the last live drawing. And let me find that real quick. And of course, mine was like really rough, but let's just show it here. So I gave her kind of like a cyberpunk arms, and I made April O'Neil kind of like Medusa. So
Evil
she has
April.
like these, yeah, evil April, right? And so she has like cyber mechanical like snakes in her hair, and that's how she gets her report. Her report. She gets people to stand still because she can freeze them. She doesn't turn them to stone, but she makes them stand still so that she can get the scoop. So I think that's one of the things that I wanted to do with it. And I was gonna like maybe draw her, her lower part of her body like a snake, but ran out of room. But anyway, this is it was a nice fun challenge, to do this.
Yeah.
So let me take that off screen. Can you zoom in? I want to before we go to our next drawing challenge. I want to like look at this again because you're a master of coming up with these expressions, and I can see like that fusion of April O'Neil and Motoko Kusanagi, and then
So,
seeing like the cyberpunk elements and Greek elements, Greek mythology elements move merge together. All right, so before we get to our next drawing challenge, I want to like look at some of the comments. Let's see. We go back as far as we can. So we got Marco who's saying that cool. We got Universo Lector saying yeah, and then of course when you don't have words, just use emojis to express how awesome Ariel is, and that's basically you're on fire and that we love your artwork. And that's from
well, that
Diego.
that Diego is the painter from the Adelita cover.
Oh,
He joined.
this
Yeah.
is this Diego.
Yeah, it's him.
Diego, we love your paint over. We showed your cover that you painted over for Adelita. Um, we also have another comment here from Marco. TMNT franchise rules. That's true. Um, this is funny here. Sayuda saying the nostrils didn't seem to fit. I agree, it didn't seem to fit, but talking to Ariel, I actually dig the nostrils now. Now, whether I draw turtles myself, if I ever draw turtles, if I put the nostrils on them, I'm not sure if I'll do that. But in the sake of the movie, for the sake of the movie, I think it was great. So, Saeed also said the original Turtles comic was hardcore, more brutal. That's exactly what we talked about earlier. Um, Hey, and we have Alpha Brain Art Studios. That's Rod Rodolfo from Brazil. So we have Brazilian representation here for you, Ariel, checking out the
Awesome.
show.
Hello.
And then let's see. We have Aurelis who's saying, I love this part of the show. Thank you, Aurelis. And Victor commented here, very cool, Ariel. He loved your interpretation. And then
Thank
here we
you.
got this. Here's a great comment too. Aurelis is saying Vic is on fire. So she really liked what you did, Victor. We're all fans of you. Let's see. You're right, Ionic, not Doric. Okay, so when we were talking about that column, Ariel, I think it was confirmation there in terms of what that Greek column was, and it was Ionic. And then Aurelis says here, Gerald, you never disappoint. I never disappoint because I have guests like Ariel on the show. That's why I don't disappoint. My guests are awesome, and I'm so happy that I can share them with you. All right, so okay, so we're gonna go to the third drawing challenge, and we talked about this yesterday already when I posted it, uh, and it's gonna be He-Man from the Masters of the Universe. Now, Ariel has a reason why he picked this, and before we get into that, I'm gonna start the clock. It is 3 o'clock right now, so this will be a good 15-minute last drawing here. Um, so if you want to clear your canvas there, or save it, but make a new one here. Okay, all right. So the drawing challenge is He-Man from the Masters of the Universe. Draw this in your own style. If you're in the if you're in our audience, let us know if you're going to draw and comment and let us know so I can look for it on the art show. But yeah, the clock is ticking. It is now 15 minutes. So Ariel, you picked He-Man. Was there a reason? What was the reason behind that?
Well, the reason behind that is human.
You are a man of few words. It's like you're right. He-Man is iconic. He-Man is for us, the two of us growing up in the '80s. It was a great toy line, awesome cartoon. But there was another reason, I think, because I think I follow you on Facebook, and I just noticed that you started doing everybody from Conan the Barbarian to Cable, and these guys. These two characters, what they have in common is they're these really hulking,
Uh-huh.
big masculine characters, and it seemed to be resonating with your fans. Everybody was loving your interpretations, especially we've seen Adelita.
Mhm.
We've seen your petite feminine touch that you've put you've in terms of interpreting these characters. So it was nice contrast to see these massive bulky characters. So that I'm assuming that maybe that's a reason why you decided
Yeah,
to pick
yeah,
He-Man.
yeah, yeah. Because before time out for a little bit, Diego is asking
Okay, a timeout. Oh,
where should anyone submit their drawings? Because I
oh,
think he
okay.
wants to participate.
Okay. So Diego, go to Facebook and in the search type in Art Show, and that's ARTSHOW Art Show, and it's our sister page. It actually has the Comics Cast logo. It'll say Comics Cast Art Show, and basically just post your artwork there, and I'll look for it and I will show it. So Diego, if you want to participate, if you want to do if you want to do the Adelita drawing, or if you want to do the fusion of April O'Neil in a cyberpunk Greek mythology, which is a very, very difficult thing to do, you could do that as well. Or you can do, we're going to do He-Man from the Masters of the Universe. So that would be a treat. So please do that. All right, so I'm going to maximize your camera here, Ariel, so people can see it full screen.
Mhm.
And yeah, let's keep on the conversation here. So He-Man, did you were you a fan of the toys first, or were you a fan of the cartoon? Because they came out around the same time. It was almost like the cartoon was designed to get you to buy the toys, and then if you got the toys, you wanted to watch the cartoon. So in Mexico, what was your experience?
I don't remember which one I saw first, if the cartoon or the toys, but I think it was more or less almost simultaneously, you know. And
Uh-huh.
I was a huge fan of both the cartoon and the cartoon series. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean the whole mythology of it uh, works really well. And even though when you see that show where the toys it made us, basically they were just uh, as they went along, they would come up with things, but everything fit right. So the way uh, they created those characters and make them
Mm-hmm.
work in a universe which can have like this huge story is something that really I mean it amazes me, the creativity of those guys, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean this huge guy, and especially in the 80s, uh, where we had all these movies like Rambo, Commando, and
Yes.
yeah, actually, these
Conan the
heroes,
Barbarian, Conan the
Conan
Destroyer.
the
Yep.
Barbarian, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
who's actually from way before, but the movie is from the 80s. And
Mm-hmm.
I think every kid was fan of those movies in a way. So Masters of the Universe came out at the right time, you know,
Right.
and we would get together and oh, I have this character, I have man and I cannot pronounce him, the one who had like this helmet.
Man at Arms
Yeah,
or
exactly
Trapjaw.
that. No,
I mean,
no,
there was
that.
so
And
Man at Arms.
yeah,
Mhm.
and whichever character I have, a Skeletor, I mean, there was this guy who had the castle of Grayskull,
Yes.
and we
Uh-huh.
would all go to his house and can I play with you? And no.
he was he was the kid that everybody was jealous of because he had Castle Grayskull, right? Yeah. And I remember one of the cool things about Castle Grayskull is that if you had He-Man and you had Skeletor, and they both had two sides of the power sword, and then you could snap them together, and when you snap them together, they became the key that could open the jaw drawbridge of Castle Grayskull. And I thought that was like the neatest thing ever. And it had and then another thing that was so cool about Masters of the Universe toys is it came with a comic book. It came with a
Yeah,
little mini comic book, which was like, you and I, being big fans of comics, it was like, here we had a cartoon, we had a toy, and a mini comic book. I mean, that was just perfect, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, they didn't continue doing it, and it was a bit sad. And I actually,
Yeah.
I don't think I owned that comic, but I would see it from somebody else, because there were the action figures which came out in Mexico, and there were the action figures which some of my friends bought in the US, and
Uh,
they were a
mhm.
bit different. Um, but I think I saw that comic from another guy who would show it to me. You know, I don't know if
Mhm.
the action figures which I bought had the comic book. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I think what was interesting, and this happened with another iconic toy line from the '80s, is GI Joe. GI Joe was different in Mexico. GI Joe was different in Europe. It's like the marketing of it was different. So and it would be everything. Not only would the character names be changed, but sometimes the colors of the figures would change.
Mhm.
If they had a comic book, maybe they wouldn't be there. And I think that was one of the little fun trivia that I learned later on is that not everything that we saw here in America was the exact same thing that a kid would see in Mexico.
Mhm.
So who is your besides He Man? Who was your favorite villain from uh, from Masters of the Universe?
Skeletor, hands down.
Skeletor?
Yeah, exactly.
No, Skeletor. Yes, I have to say he is the evil leader. But I have to say that my favorite one was Trapjaw. I always
Mhm.
thought Trapjaw had a very unique design. And not only that, he was like cyberpunk. He had the mechanical arm, and he had that jaw. It's like made you wonder. It's like what happened to this lower part of his jaw? And he had that cool hook on the top of his head where you could like zip line him as a little kid. You could thread a piece of string and have him like slide in zip line across your room. I thought he was just a really unique looking character. Um,
He's very cool,
what is
but
it?
I mean, it's difficult to beat somebody who has a skull for a head, you know? And actually, we
Exactly.
all we all have skulls for heads, but
uh,
without everything else.
it's funny. Yeah, so I never had Castle Grayskull either. So,
No.
but just like you, there was a kid in my neighborhood who had one, and we always wanted to go to his place after school so we could play with Castle Grayskull.
Yeah, but um, the bad thing about Castle Grayskull is and it's pointed out in the documentaries about him, is that the figures didn't fit in.
Oh yeah, that's right. They seemed like they were just a little bit too tall, and yeah. But as a kid, we just imagined we made it work. So you're right.
Yeah, but I did expect them to come out to release a version which was bigger.
Right. Well, that's the thing. These days there's been several different newer versions of Masters of the Universe.
Mhm.
I was a big fan of the when they did the reboot in early 2000s. I kind of like it. And they made He-Man look, or the style was more anime, kind of like an anime style, and
Mhm.
uh, I thought those versions of the characters were really cool. And then of course we have the most recent version, which was done by Kevin Smith. Were you a fan of the most recent version?
No, I mean I loved the first episode,
uh,
the first episode, and I was so
uh-huh,
excited. And visually, the cartoon looks really good. But I mean,
uh-huh.
um, you love certain characters, and some characters are the ones who hook you up, you know.
Yes.
And
Uh-huh.
without those characters, it's not the same thing. And so
Mm-hmm.
when they take away He-Man and Skeletor from the equation, it's like
It's no longer Masters of the Universe, right?
exactly. Well, it may be Masters of the Universe spin-off, but I'm not really
Mm-hmm.
interested in that. It's like, for example, with The Walking Dead. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I checked some of the spin-offs, and they're okay, but maybe you'll become more of a fan of those characters. But uh, I didn't. It was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
Fear the Walking Dead is very nice. However, uh, I'm more of a fan of the cowboy sheriff, and
Yes.
you cannot replace him. So it's
Mm-hmm.
similar, and even more with with He-Man and Masters of the Universe. If you take out He-Man and Skeletor, for me, it's not appealing anymore.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And
Yeah.
to me, it was more about, not only their absence, but they just changed everything. Like Castle Grayskull wasn't a castle that was made out of stone anymore. It's like underneath it, it was like this futuristic looking, you know, palace, and that
Mhm.
was like what? After all those, especially we were just talked about how we grew up with the classic version of Castle Grayskull, and to realize that underneath it, it wasn't what we thought. It just changed my whole opinion on
Listen,
terms of like what it was about.
I can take some changes, but there are things that I mean, maybe I would put up with the Castle Grayskull thing, even though I don't know. But for me, the main reason for not continuing to watch the series was that they took out the main guys. So for me, it was
Yeah,
like, well, I'm not gonna watch
it
it
doesn't interest
anymore.
you.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not one of those guys who will go in the internet and send death threats or anything like that.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that's taking it to another level. Yeah.
it's for me, it's just like, oh, you mean that's a bummer, and okay, let's move on. You know, life goes
Yeah.
on. Uh,
It's your. Mhm.
it's
And it's
not
not
good.
like Ariel's life. Yeah, it's like your life
Yeah,
doesn't revolve around Masters of the Universe. So,
yeah, it doesn't. But of course, I mean, I still have the memories from the original cartoons and the original action figures.
mhm,
I wish that they course correct the franchise, but
mhm,
that's it. You know, I'm not gonna
right.
send hate mail or anything like that.
uh, yeah, you just sort of like what do they say? You just scroll on. If it's not for you, you just scroll on,
Mhm.
and people can enjoy it if they enjoy it. If they don't, then that's you can acknowledge that
Yeah,
that's not for you.
it's a bummer. It's like, oh well, but that's it. I'm not gonna watch it. If somebody else likes it, well, good for them. But
Right.
I don't think that was the way to go. And
Mhm.
I think they knew what the reaction would be, you know,
Yeah, it's
but
almost like
they still did it.
they right. It's like they almost did it because it would stir up controversy, right? It was almost
Probably,
like
probably.
yeah.
And it was like, I mean, I love Kevin Smith. I don't agree always with his points of view, but I like
Mhm.
him. I like some of his movies, but I mean, you had to expect the reaction, and he was like
Mhm.
surprised, you know, and I don't know how. I mean,
How could you not be surprised, right?
mhm. It's like if you're invited to eat pancakes and coffee, and then when you arrive there, they serve you uh, I don't know, um, vegetable pie with with
Uh-huh.
tea and some kind of mix of tea which doesn't have anything to do with what you were expecting. Of course, you're not
Uh-huh.
gonna be happy about it, you know?
I love your comparison or your how you're because I think that I'm never gonna look at I'm gonna look at the new He-Man as being vegetable pie. When the original He-Man was steak. It was beef, right? It
Yeah.
was, and it got reduced to like vegetable pie.
I
I love
mean,
that.
I like vegetables. I have nothing about against vegetable pie. I don't know if it exists, but it was the first thing that came to mind. And maybe
yeah.
you like vegetable pie. I love
Uh-huh,
vegetables, by the way. But the
uh-huh,
fact that they're inviting you to something and they surprise you with a completely different thing, that's
uh-huh.
one of the factors that makes you go, you know what, I'm not gonna watch that.
Yeah. I'm just like all I'm gonna say is that I'm never gonna look at the current version of He-Man and not think of vegetable pie because of you. You basically changed my whole view on it.
I I ruined your
No. I think it's actually a really fitting comparison in terms of and I like your point of view just because it's sort of like, hey, you don't if people like that version of He-Man, then more power to them. They can like it, and you're not going to
Mhm.
tell them they can't like it. And I think that's what's important. I think that's kind of what's lost in today's discourse, today's conversation, is that if you have a differing opinion, it's like automatically you're canceled or you're a hater. It's like, can't you just accept that, yeah, people like certain things and other people like other things, and the world is big enough that there are properties and movie franchise and comic books. There's so many things out there that we can all like, and if you don't like something, just move along, right?
Yeah,
You don't need to let that consume you.
the world is big enough for vegetable pie.
Yeah, vegetable pie, exactly. All right, so I lost track of time again because I just like having these conversations with our guests, and I didn't have my phone beside me with a timer. It is 3:20 here. Let's go ahead, since this is our last drawing. Let's go ahead and give us another like 5 minutes, so that way we can kind of like spend a little bit more time with our last drawing. So besides He-Man, we are drawing He-Man. What other '80s toy lines or comic books or things like that did you enjoy as a kid? Well, let's stick to toys. Was there any other toy line that you thought was really cool?
G.I. Joe.
GI Joe.
Yeah.
All right, so GI Joe. Who was your favorite Joe, and who was your favorite Cobra?
Um, well, my favorite female was Scarlet,
Yes. Uh-huh.
and then
I like
I
Scarlet
think
too.
the blonde soldier was it Duke,
Duke. Yes. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite, no, wait, Snake Eyes.
I was gonna say, yeah, Snake Eyes was
Sorry,
my
I'm
favorite.
crazy. Uh, and
That was my very first Joe. Yeah.
my favorite villain was the white ninja with storm what
Storm Shadow.
storm
Storm
shadow,
Shadow.
and of course
Yes.
Cobra Commander. Those were the two
Mm,
for me. Yeah,
yeah.
Snake Eyes, then Scarlet,
Mhm.
and Duke. And and
Yeah,
and
I agree
Duke
with you.
and Duke was more out of respect because he was like the leader.
Hmm.
I think, I don't know, I'm not sure, but he wasn't as
Yes.
cool. I think Scarlet was way cooler, and of course, Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes is
Yeah.
amazing, and
Yeah.
the villains. I mean, I was a Cobra fan, you know. I rooted for Cobra.
You
Yeah,
were? Okay.
yeah, because I mean,
Uh-huh.
they were so cool. They were
Uh-huh.
organized. Now,
That's so funny. I'm gonna say that Cobra had the cooler characters. All of their toys were just cooler. It's like, we had the GI Joe Sky Striker, which was like the kind of like the Tom Cruise Tomcat from Top Gun. It was that type of vehicle. But then Cobra had the Rattler, which was the A-10 tank buster, which had the
mhm.
Gatling gun underneath the cockpit with all those cool like missiles. They just had the cooler looking vehicles. They had the cooler looking characters. I agree with you. I loved Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, but I also liked Firefly. Do you remember him? He was the Cobra Saboteur. He basically was like a ninja, but he was painted gray, and he was a demolition expert. And then
I think if I
I think
see
from
him,
GI,
I'll remember.
yeah, but also like from GI Joe, some of the cooler GI Joe figures were the ones that were a little bit more atypical. I liked the character Sci-Fi, which is funny. He was their laser, like a laser trooper. He was like bright neon
Oh
green,
yeah,
but he had this helmet that like with a visor. And I don't know if you were a big fan of Arthur Adams back in the '80s,
yes,
but
yes,
Arthur
of
Adams
course.
actually he actually took that sci-fi character from GI Joe, and he gave the helmet. He modeled the helmet for Cannonball. Uh, when they did this a Marvel annual for X-Men, and it was when the New Mutants graduated to replace the X-Men, and he gave Cannonball a helmet that was based off GI Joe's sci-fi character, and I just thought that was cool. To have like Arthur Adams to do an homage to the toy line that we all grew up with. So
Yeah, Arthur Adams is an amazing
he's a
artist.
legend.
One of my early influences.
Hmm. Yeah, actually, I could kind of see that with your artwork. All right, unfortunately, the time has expired, so um, I'm gonna look at your artwork. Oh my, this is what I like about my guests when we see like a rough, because when I illustrate, what you see the underdrawing that Ariel did, that's me. I'm just messy. I just do like these really rough things underneath it. But then what Ariel does on top of it, he starts refining the lines. He starts adding the finishing touches, and I can see why all of your muscle bound characters are very popular on your Facebook page, because this one is shaping up to be just like like that Cable and that Conan the Barbarian one. You should actually do a like a fan art book, and maybe do like interpretations of some of your characters, and compile them into like an art book. I know I would be in line to like purchase it because I think they're so cool.
Yeah, that's something that I have in mind. You know, I may do that.
Yeah,
So yeah, because
I
as you mentioned, the other reason I started doing these huge characters is because they are popular and on my social media.
yeah they are. All right, so you keep on drawing. I'm gonna check the social media. I mean, I check our art show page to see if anybody drew along with us. Oh yes, we got somebody who drew along with us. Victor, who is on fire today. He's done all three drawing challenges with us,
He's
and
unstoppable.
he is unstoppable. I'm like gonna say, hey Vic, did you cheat and start drawing a little bit, at least to draw Adelita and He-Man yesterday? Start drawing it.
He
Just
had
kidding.
some
I know you didn't
he
do
had
it.
some inside information.
Yeah, he had insider trading knowledge here. All right, so we're gonna let me pop up his artwork real quick, and I'm gonna get Ariel to give me his feedback, because not only did he do He-Man, Ariel, he wanted to show us both up by doing this. Let me share this. Look at that.
Oh,
He decided to do Battle Cat, and Castle Grayskull is in the background. Just incredible work. Um, Victor, your final piece here, it's like you hit it out of the park with all three of these drawings. So very, very
very
cool.
nice.
Ariel, what do you think about this?
It's very cool.
Uh,
It's very cool.
it is
Yeah,
very, very cool.
very
All
cool.
right.
Very nice. And thank
Victor.
you for drawing with us.
Uh-huh. All right. Before we get to, I guess before we close out the live drawing part of it, and I'll show my piece. I just want to go through some of these comments. So let me minimize this, and let's get our. I'm going to bring up Ariel. Ariel, you keep on drawing. I'm just going to read some of these comments to you. Um, so I guess this is somebody else that you might know. We have uh, I want to Puppy Jimenez. Hola,
Pupi
saludos
Jimenez,
al
yeah.
gran Ariel. Yes. So another friend we have, uh, Diego, who said, "Okay, thank you." I think he was referring to like letting him know where to post some artwork. So Diego, if you we still have we're going to be closing out the show a little bit, but that's still going to be a few more minutes. So if you want to submit some artwork, just let me know, and we'll be more than happy to share that. Um, we got Sarah, who usually draws along with us, but unfortunately, our schedules or her schedule hasn't been lining up with our show. So, Ariel, I just want to let you know you have an Egyptian fan here who's watching the show, watching your appearance. Yo, everyone, how are you doing? Hope you all are having a good day. Then we have Marco, who's chiming in again. My first crush ever was Tila. You're right. Tila was a great character, and I think in the Kevin Smith version, they kind of like they kind of just rewrote her entire story, and it just kind of like wasn't what I was hoping for. But I'm not hating on it. I just did not see that direction that they went with her. Um, yeah, Arelis chimed in here. I haven't met anyone who was a fan of Kevin's version. That's so funny. Yeah, I'm going to say that too. Most of my friends not liking what the new Masters of the Universe. I have to say the one saving grace about the current Masters of the Universe story is the toys. The toys for the current line, some really neat designs. I just chose not to really watch the cartoon anymore and just enjoy the toys for what they are, which are really really cool designs. And then in my the 80s kid in me will just rewrite the stories to go along with these new interpretations of these characters. Uh, all right, so here we go. Victor commented here that Jason Flowers recently got a great deal on Castle Grayskull. We should go over to his house. That's true. I heard something about um, the retro line of the Masters of the Universe line that came out, which is more about it's truer to the original '80s scale. I think you could get Castle Grayskull for like was it like 30 or 40 bucks? It was an incredible if you could find them. So one of those rare things. Let's see, Sarah was on here. She said, "Nice job, Victor. Wow." And this is for you, Ariel. Victor said, "Ariel Medel, you really inspires me."
Thank you
Same
so much.
here.
Thank you so much.
Um, and all right, so that's pretty much it. So let me share mine real quick, and then we'll move to like start talking about the latter part of the show. So let me stop sharing. Share one more time. All right. So here's my fairly generic He-Man.
No, it's very
I
nice. I
don't know if
like
you can.
the angle. The angle is very nice.
Thank you, thank you. I'm a big fan of the worm's eye view. Like it gives a just by drawing it from that worm's eye view, it adds like a whole other storytelling element to the image. So it was fun. I actually haven't drawn He-Man uh, in like years, so it was nice to revisit that. So thank you for Ariel for making me draw He-Man. All right, so one last glance. I wanted to show Ariel's version. Look at that. In just that 5 minutes where we were looking at artwork, he's already put some tighter lines in there. So I'm hoping that Ariel, when you're done with this, obviously, I would think that you're going to post this to your Facebook page. Be sure to tag us here at Comics Cast, so that way
Yeah.
people can see where it started. Before that final drawing that we're going to see on your Facebook page. Very very cool. All right. Okay, so that concludes our live drawing, and I'm going to go back to our face cams real quick. All right. Let me hide this. Okay, so I'm going to flash Ariel's social media here at the bottom here. I'm just going to leave this up for a little while. So, Ariel, we kind of already talked a little bit about your future. We talked about how you're going to be having a Adelita is going to be dropping in mid to late October Kickstarter.
Mhm.
Possibility of an art book that you put together of maybe some of your popular illustrations of those muscle-bound heroic characters. And you also are doing stuff with Milestone. We showed that as well. In fact, let me go ahead and bring up. I'm going to bring up your PDF one more time because I want to show that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cover that you did. And what was so cool about this is because it doesn't have any of the turtles on the cover. It has um, some of the villains, and
Yeah.
it's the Alliance. It's called the Armageddon game. Um, you want to talk a little bit about this, maybe, and because are you going to be doing another cover for them, or is this or maybe some interior pages? What is
I
the
don't know.
the story?
We've
Mhm.
discussed some stuff, but up to this point, I can only say I don't know. Hopefully,
Okay.
I hope so, but there's nothing sure so far. But
Mhm.
hopefully, if you
Well,
guys, if everybody buys 100 copies of that
there we go.
issue when it comes out on October, I'm pretty sure
Uh-huh.
that I'll be doing more covers for IDW and the Ninja Turtles.
There
So
you
be sure
go.
to
There you go. So
if you make a protest, and I'm kidding, no, outside of your local comic store, demanding
uh
more work from me of the
yes.
Ninja Turtles, I'm sure they'll do it. But do not do
Okay.
that.
All right. I'm going to design some posters that people can print out and bring to their local comic book shop, and they can pick it outside their local comic shop saying, we want Ariel on TMNT. Uh, but okay, so we have the Armageddon game, and obviously, we're looking at this cover, and these aren't the turtles. These are like you were tasked to do a cover featuring villains.
Mhm.
So did they give you specific art direction, or did you just come up with this concept and sell it to them? What's the story behind this cover?
Well, well, they gave me general directions in the sense that they wanted Karai to be on it, and at
Hmm.
least two foot soldiers, and
Yes.
I gave them like four different options for that, and Nickelodeon went with this option, so
Mm.
that's the one that I did.
I Yeah, I haven't seen the other concepts that you came up with. Maybe you could share them with me, and I could just feel special knowing what the covers like they could have been. We'll talk after the show, but but in
Yeah.
terms of like this particular cover concept, this is the finished one, and this is the one that will be at local comic book shops. Um, Energy. That's all I'm going to say. This has so much energy. It's a
Thank you.
running pose. It's on the rooftops. You told me that you try and figure out ways to work in backgrounds when it's effective, when it calls for one. And I could just see this. I could see, Karai and the foot shoulders running across the rooftops of this urban setting, and your perspective on point, your seed lines, and I even like how you even create that sense of swiping action with the motion lines that you put on her sword.
Mhm.
And on top of that, it's all clean. It's so clean, and then you even like incorporated some screen tones to add
Mhm.
a little bit of aside from the shading, color shading techniques, but you've also put some screen tones in there to add a little bit more depth and texture to like some of the surfaces and the costumes. Uh, yeah, I don't know what else to say about it except that it's really great. And your colorist that worked on it, uh, I even like the way this. Did you plan for the nighttime sky to look like that, or was that something that the colorist came up with?
Well, I only gave like that the half tones for the night sky, but of course
Uh
she
huh.
took that and worked her magic. That the name of the colorist is Candy's Hand. He colored my Evil Ernie issues,
Uh
and
huh.
we have also some older work together with other series, and well, she did a great job here.
Yeah, I'm speechless. And when you have colors like this, it's like icing on a already awesome tasting cake. So this is not vegetable pie. That's all I'm going to say. This is
No, no.
this is all really this is like cake with icing on top. Just really, really sweet artwork. Yeah, so this is stuff to look forward to. It's going to be dropping, and if you can tell your local comic book shop that you want 100 copies of it, and that will send some signals to IDW to get Ariel to do yet another cover. So make sure that we all like I said, I'll have to put together some signs that I'll send out so people can print them out and protest to get to you
Peacefully,
back on here.
peacefully.
Peacefully
Yeah.
protest. So that's right. All right, so um, let's talk about the future. I mean, we talked about this. We talked about Adelita dropping soon. What are your bigger plans? Like, what? Let's say, Ariel, in 10 years, what do you see yourself doing in the next 10 years?
Well, if I may mention something before we go
Okay.
into the future, uh,
Uh huh.
very soon there's a campaign from Milestone which is coming out. I'm trying to look for the date. I don't have it, but if you go into Soup, COOP, and type Milestone, you may be
Uh-huh.
able to find it. So that campaign is coming out.
Okay.
There's
Is that
another
on Kickstarter?
Kickstarter which is coming out this week, which is for POM issue 5 is a female superhero, and I did issue
Uh-huh.
4. So issue 5, the campaign is launching this Wednesday. That's on Kickstarter.
Okay.
If you want to see more of my work, and also in mid-August, I think is August 17th, if I'm not 17th, if I'm not mistaken. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's a there's a trade paperback of Evil Ernie Lives, which is a
Mm-hmm.
compilation of the 5 issues of the miniseries. And of course, stand by for more news regarding Adelita. Adelita 3017. The campaign is most likely launching mid October. Now, I want to
Okay.
thank, because I've been told that a couple of people subscribed to the page because of this live video. So thank you so much
That's
for
awesome.
those who, yeah, thank you so much. So,
Uh-huh.
and you'll be hearing news soon regarding the exact date of the launching campaign for Adelita. Now, in 10 years, uh, I gotta say, for a while now, I haven't been that guy who uh, dreams about the future. I try to go along because most of the time things go very differently from what you envision. So,
Mm-hmm.
having said that, I guess I see myself having my own original characters thriving, thriving in the comics, and probably and hopefully in movies and TV series, maybe even cartoons. That's what, but something that I would, of course, like.
Yeah, I think that would, to me, that is your natural next step. Aside from now doing your own characters, and a story. I still think you have such a fan base that is not only just in comics in the audience, but obviously like ODW, um, Dynamite. They all have worked with you before, and you've done tremendous work with them. So I think I envision you in the next 10 years still continuing to do that work. But I can see the Adelita franchise. I'm going to say it's going to be a franchise. I can see that just blowing up, and seeing the cast of characters. They're so neat looking that it'd be cool to see toys. I would love everybody. It seems like indie toys are seem to be a thing too now. It's like everybody can buy their own 3D printer, and who knows, maybe you can start pitching toys, action figures for Adelita, and that would be my that would be
That
my thrill to walk into Walmart and see an Ariel Medel like figure on the peg. That would be just so cool. And of course, you doing your natural next steps to go like to do animation because you have an interest in movies and cartoons. I think it'd be awesome to see like a Cartoon Network, version, right? Like right after the latest episode of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we have Ariel's Adelita cartoon. I think that would be so
That would
awesome. That
be
would be so
awesome.
sweet.
Yeah.
Uh, so and that would be just so inspirational too because um, we talked about your humble beginnings, you being a minority creator. First and foremost, you are a creator. It makes no difference if you are a minority or not, but I think it's inspiring to say that um, as a creator, you're making your dreams happen. You're going out there and you're doing it, and I think it's inspirational. You can just look in the comment field. There's so many people here that really enjoyed seeing your artwork. Let me pop up a couple comments here. We have Galart Galvan. Greetings, Ariel. Watching him work inspires me to practice. So I'm going to tell you, Ariel, you do not know the impact that you have. You mentioned that you were discovered through Facebook, and you got some of your, when you decide to go back into drawing comics professionally, or you decide to do comics professionally, and you were discovered through Facebook. Um, I think you could say for every one of those indie studios or even larger indie companies that found you, you probably inspired another 100 people like me that said, hey, I want to interview this guy. I seen your artwork and I just want to learn more. I want to hear your story and I want to
Thank you.
know what you're doing. So it's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you
And
so much.
no problem. It is my honor. So this is the part of the show where we actually have to wind things down. And I told you yesterday, I said, when we do the show, we could easily get close to 3 hours, and here we are at 2 hours and 41 minutes. And it did not seem that way because I had such a great time talking to you and sharing your artwork and hearing your story. But like they say, all good things come to an end. But I'm going to put that with a little asterisk. It is not the end. I'm looking forward to having you on the show again, and
I'll be glad to
so
come
it's
back.
more of a fair. It's almost just a farewell. It's more like until then, we're going to have you back. But so as we go to the last part of the show, the last part of the show is called the Oscar speech. And don't worry, I know the Oscars have gotten a bad rap over the last outing with Will Smith, so you don't have to worry about either one of us reaching across the screen and like slapping each other. so so this is where I give the mic back to our guests and to you, Ariel. And in the Oscar speech is just to give your final thoughts, to give your thank yous, whatever your last words are. As we close out the show. So the mic is in your hand. I'm going to solo your screen and you can give us your Oscar speech.
Well, thank you for first of all, thank you for inviting me to the show. It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun drawing and reading the comments and seeing some of you actually joining us in drawing. And of course, I would also like to thank all of those creators who have trusted me with their projects and given me the chance to give life to them through my drawings, like Charlie McElvey and many others who have. I mean, I could come up with a list and tell you all of their names, but I would probably butcher their names. Uh, but all of them, my wife who supports me in this crazy journey, and of course, also from the bigger publishers who have given me at least a chance to do some work for them. Thank you so much. And thanks to everyone who has supported my projects, being them comic books, or even when you give a like to one of my drawings on Facebook or leave a comment. All of that is motivation to me, and I'm really appreciative of you being there. And I hope that more people come aboard to enjoy my work, my art, in Facebook, Twitter, or whatever social media you use. Thank you so much.
All right.
And I'm gonna
That is a
pretend
great Oscar.
this is the Oscar.
Okay, right here. So this is my Oscar to you. So
Thank you so
anyway,
much.
I yeah, I appreciate it, and yeah, I always get a little misty eyed at this part of the show because I could talk to you for another couple hours, and we could easily go over more of the finer points of your artwork and talk about what you're going to be planning on doing. The best thing that I can recommend to our audience is below. You can see all of Ariel's social media handles. So if you go to his arielmedel.com page, in fact, I think there's a pop up that shows up where you can sign up to know about Adelita 3017.
Mhm.
But I think there's a separate website. You said Adelita 3017.com. You can go
Exactly.
there as well. Look for that to drop in October, mid October to late October. It's going to be on Kickstarter. But the best thing for you to do is just like, subscribe, follow Ariel right now. Well, not right now because we're still on the show. As soon as the show is over, do that, and that way you can be in the know. You can know what this talented artist is going to be doing next. I anticipate big things for you. I really think that your skill, your expertise, um, your attitude, your positivity, there's just so much to like about what you're doing, and I think it resonates with a lot of people, and that's the reason why you have so many followers and so many people that came in here to comment, to let them know how they've been affected by what you do. So
Thank you.
that being said, we end the show by doing this, and let me show that real quick. Let me pop it up and stop sharing a screen and share one more time. And that is a charity group that we are associated with, but we're not financially tied to. So let me pull that up right now. And that group is called Golden Fight. And if you go to their website, and I'm going to share that real quick, and it's real simple to remember. It's just goldenfight.org. Now, Golden Fight, who are they? What they're about? Uh, like I said, they are a charity organization, and they are what I like to call big enough and small enough at the same time. Small enough in the sense that they are not a national here in the United States organization or even international. They just have a nice focused area, which is the mid-Atlantic region of the United States, which is my neck of the woods. And by being small, that allows them to be focused, and this is where they become huge. Um, they're an organization that helps families who have kids that are dealing with difficult diseases like cancer. And when they're focused on the healing of their child, inevitably they will find or they will encounter financial difficulties. And that's where Golden Fight comes in, and they come in huge. They help raise money for these families. And when they raise money for them, uh, I was thinking it was like 97, 98% of that money would go to the families, and that minuscule 1 or 2 or 3% would actually help cover administrative costs, because any organization, whether it's charitable or profitable, they have to have some money that goes towards dealing with administrative things. I was wrong. 100% of the money they raise goes to those families, and that's tremendous. That's something special to be said about goldenfight.org. So if you are wanting to read about a really class act charity, consider reading about Golden Fight. And if you have it in your heart and it's in your means, and you are looking for a charity to support, please consider Golden Fight. We are not, like I said, financially tied to them. We just want to bring awareness to this organization. The leadership at ComicsCast is friends with the leadership at goldenfight.org. So it's our mission to help bring awareness to this tremendous charity. So that being said, let me close that out. Bring both of our cams up here for one final push. I want to show this. Let me scroll all the way up here and show this again. Once again, follow Ariel. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, his own personal website. He's on ArtStation. You can go now. I give you permission because we are ending the show. But it's been an honor to have you here on the show, Ariel. Don't be a stranger. You let us know. You're welcome on the show to come back and talk about what any new project that you're working on. We wish you nothing but success, and we're looking forward to having you on the show again. So that being said, this is Gerald. I am signing out for another fantastic edition of Comics Cast. Let It Out. We will see you next weekend, where we will feature yet another awesome creator. Today was all about Ariel, and we'll see you later. All right. Much love. Keep on drawing. We'll see you later.